Right, so Street Talk time, and I am very, very excited to do Street Talk today. I loved this week's Coronation Street. I thought it was a really, really strong week, and after what feels like a very, very long time of meh episodes, or, this bit was quite good, but I wasn't so sure about that, I thought this was an all-round pretty solid week. There's one storyline maybe that didn't grab me quite as much as the others, but this is the right mix of characters. We obviously had a return in Sharon this week. The scripts were on point. I thought it was jolly good, and I'm looking forward to discussing it with you, Gemma. You've also enjoyed it, haven't you?
Yes.
I know I sometimes catch you off guard at the beginning of these by asking you what you think, but we have discussed this already, and we both agree this is a strong week. So if you want a bit of positivity on the podcast for a change, then hopefully the next couple of hours might provide that. We're going to start off with the rutting ties story, which Gemma and I are still getting extremely frustrated, but in a good way by. Still keeping us hooked, that one. And then we're going to have the Sharon return storyline. I racked my brains for storyline titles for this week. I could not think of anything that was decent. I've ended up with Bentley Repents with a question mark. Because
could it be Bentley Repently?
Bentley Repently, maybe. She's not repentant anyway. I think we could tell by the end of tonight's episode that there's something.
She's up to something.
She's up to summit. So yeah, no repentance.
Don't trust
my,
her.
My other option was what did I have? Foster Sister Fisticuffs, because it looked like her and Jenny could have been coming to blows at one point this week, and it's still possible.
The thing is about that is that feels like you're going down the route of Foster Sister Fistula, which is not.
I'm not going down that at all.
I know, but it kind of feels like that's a neat way.
Foster Sister Fisticuffs. It's just having a fight. It's having a scrap. We then got a bit more of the Sebenina Budding story, which again we've been a bit like whatever about so far, but this week love it, really really lovely. And I have now removed the question mark from the Fei Put Away storyline because she's been banged up.
Fei
3 years. Blimey. Making a mountain out of a troll hill had a couple of episodes this week, which again I thought was okay. And then I got 2 new storyline titles for you here. I quite like these storyline titles, although they're both a bit of a stretch. So, of course, I have to explain these before I say them. So this is the Peter storyline, everybody. Okay, you ready for this? So Peter, Peter, part of the Carla and Peter shipping community that everyone's standing at the moment.
That sounds like a beginning of a tongue twister.
Carla and Peter, what?
Peter, I don't know, the way you said it.
Look, you interrupted my flow of explaining the storyline title. So Peter and Carla, they get shipped quite a lot, they get stanned, right? So that's half of it. And also, he's going to have his liver taken out, yeah? So I'm calling this story, until we're for the foreseeable future, Stand and Delivered.
Standing.
Delivered, like he's having
as
his liver.
Fans.
Stand and deliver. Nice.
Can I just say, I think we've totally missed a trick here because we could have had Coronation Street relationship predictions where we guess who's going to end up hooking up with who. We could have called it the shipping forecast. I'm sure somebody else has already thought of
I think we've thought of this before. I'm pretty sure we've mentioned that one on the podcast before.
Oh,
but
sorry.
That's fine, it's fine. I mean, anyway.
Stand and deliver. Stand
and delivered.
Stand and delivered.
Stop criticising.
I'm not criticising you.
Right.
Michael, if reading it out is criticising to you, then you're insecure about your...
Well, get this on everybody.
Right,
so
ready.
This is the Corey and Asher storyline, yeah? Corey and Asher, who need some kind of shipping name as well. Also, they're having sex. And also...
That's disgusting.
Ardy punched him in the face this week. So my storyline title for tonight's episode encapsulates all 3 of those. They need a shipping name.
Yeah, they do.
They've been shagging.
Yeah.
And they got punched in the face. Ready for this?
No, I don't think I can be.
Korash, bang, wallop. Korash, that's shipping name. Bang, because they
banged each other.
And wallop, because he got walloped in the face. Korash, bang, wallop. I'm pretty proud of that one.
Okay.
Korash, bang, wallop.
Do you think that Korash is really the shipping name that is going to be embraced?
It is now.
Korash.
Speaking of banging, they've been all at it in between Wednesday and Friday's episode
this
night,
weren't
they? The first few scenes of Friday's of tonight's episode, just
who
like
shagged who last
basically,
night.
everyone had a good night last night.
Nina and Tyrone,
Nina and Seb,
and Corey and Asher.
Yeah,
I assume other people.
Shocking stuff.
also perhaps...
I hope they have all formed a bubble, that's all I can say. Right, I'm going to get started with a rutting tie. Oh, no, actually, maybe... Oh, I don't know. Which one do you want to do? I don't mind. Do you want me to do rutting ties or do you want to do
I don't think I've done the Tyrone one.
Oh, haven't you? Oh, so
I don't know. Maybe I have. Maybe I haven't.
What has the dirty little scrote Tyrone been up to? in our completely impartial commentary on this storyline.
One thing I just wanted to say up top was, this is very, very much the embodiment of something, a phenomena when you watch a soap that I think is an unconscious thing that perhaps we should be more aware of.
What?
In that you judge somebody by their intentions or by their actions. Okay, so when you do something, you genuinely judge your intentions by you generally judge it by your intentions. Okay, so I intend to do something. The result of that might not be what I intended, but as long as I had good intentions, it doesn't matter. Right. So when you like a character, I've said this before on the show, you tend to judge them by their intentions rather than their actions. So Tyrone never intended to wreck his family and abandon his children and leave Fizz by herself. His action, that's what he did. He intended to sort of follow his heart and make himself happy. Can you see what I'm getting at here?
Yeah.
So I think that some of the people who are being a bit more lenient on Tyrone are judging him by his intentions rather than his actions. And that's definitely a massive difference between the different types of people and how they react to him. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
So, with that in mind, shall we be lenient on Tyrone?
We will
no
see.
is the answer.
We will see.
On Monday, Alina chats with Lucas. I don't know why Lucas is still around now. I'm kind of bored of him. Are you?
I am a little bit. When he came into it, it's like I quite
he's
like this
suave.
guy.
I like him, and now he's just there. It's like, hello everyone. You probably recognise me from other people who fancy me for different reasons.
Yeah, of all ages.
Found some mystery mashed potato up my sleeve. It's really
mystery mashed
disconcerting.
potato up your sleeve.
It's like,
You know what we have for tea tonight, everybody?
Oh.
Come on, we're relying on you.
It's all going up my arm. Right, so Alina's chatting with
Live
Lucas.
mashed potato discovery, only on Conversation Street.
Off. I'm cold now. Alina chats with Lucas. Oh, it's all under some of my fingernails. Ugh. She thanks him.
Still on scene 1 here, everybody. It's going to be another long street
She
tour
thanks
this week.
him for the contacts he gave her. What for?
Well, he's just working with her at Underworld, isn't he?
Underworld for what?
Oh no.
She's got her pop-up
Oh yeah,
thing.
he's given us some contacts or something. Some
For
people
what?
were
For
really
doing-
somebody with really dirty nails or
says-
something. I don't know.
Some of them are sharks. Sharks don't have nails. I know
They're
this.
basically it's just leading up for an excuse for him
He
to
wants
invite her to lunch, basically. Yeah, and she turns him down.
Okay, and then Emma's listening, and then when he goes, Emma's like, "Oh, you should go for it." And you're still not after Tyrone, are you? Only an idiot would do that. Only a slaggy idiot. And she says, "No." Meanwhile, Tyrone has had a bad night's sleep. He's still on the sofa.
Yes.
Fizz is kind of hoping that he'll end up back in the marital bed. But he just wants a blow-up mattress. Men are only after one thing, and it's disgusting. Tyrone has to hide behind the sofa in his pants. Wait a minute.
You're just remembering this week's Coronation Street as
This is a different scene where Tyrone has had it away with Alina.
Yeah.
And you didn't make this clear because one minute he's talking to Fizz about getting a blow-up mattress, and the next minute he's getting his pants.
I assumed that we might remember having watched this, but
Never assume anything.
Cut to Alina's
Cut
flat.
to Tyrone and Alina have just had sex.
Yes.
And he's putting his trousers on when Emma comes in, and he quickly hides behind the sofa. And Emma thinks that she can see trousers that belong to Lucas. So she thinks that Alina and Lucas have got together, and she's pleased for her because this is a much better match than Tyrone, who's already got a family. And Alina's like, me and Lucas very wonderful.
He's such a much better match for Alina. He's closer to your age than Tyrone, isn't he? Oh, wait.
Nothing wrong with age gaps. She hurries off. She being Alina or Emma. Tyrone... It's Emma, isn't it?
This is a long time ago we watched this. It was 5 days ago.
How dare you? If I wrote cryptic stuff like this, you call me out. This doesn't make sense. You've got genders completely the wrong way round in some of these sentences. I have to read this while also translating it into English.
You're doing very well.
And remembering what happened and seeing if it matches what you've written. Well done, though. Thank you for making the notes. I appreciate you. Not like Tyrone and Fizz. Tyrone asked Alina to keep up this story that she and Lucas were together, and she's like, but I hate lying. Poor Alina's being forced to do something immoral for once in her life.
She's just been lying flat on her back 5 minutes ago.
That's what she meant, maybe. I don't know. Alina tells Emma...
I want to be pop on top.
Oh! Alina tells Emma that she wants her to keep this thing about Lucas quiet because he's a client at work and she doesn't want to be unprofessional. And Maria's there and she's like, okay, I will also keep this quiet, but she looks suspicious. And then Maria works out when Emma says when they were together that actually Lucas couldn't have been the one that Alina was having it off with, because at that time she was doing Lucas's hair. What a mystery. Maria goes to visit Fizz, and Fizz says, I feel like things are going back to normal, but it's very difficult to tell with Tyrone. And Maria's just like, oh God, I'm not going to say anything. So she sees Tyrone and tells him he's busted and she knows what they got up to. And she tells him that he needs to tell Fizz the truth. And he says, I can't. And she goes, well, I will then. And he's like, actually, maybe I can. So on Wednesday...
He basically spends half of Wednesday's episodes avoiding telling her, doesn't he?
Yeah, like making excuses for why he can't do it right now. He tells Alina in the morning he's going to tell Fizz the truth later that day. Emma tells Fizz about the fact that she thinks Alina and Lucas were at it together, and Fizz calls her a dirty cow, which is fantastic. That was obviously a callback
George's
to our
quote from the feedback section.
It was obviously a reference of Coronation Street to our podcast that they found out. Dirty cows. They say men are terrible, aren't they? Yeah, and everybody nods.
We are all dirty cows.
Tyrone tells Kevin later, I'm definitely going to tell Fizz, but not right now because I'm busy.
I've got to go off on a call out.
Also, I have booked a hotel for me and Alina in Knutsford. And I think Knutsford is spelt with a K.
Is it?
I think it is. I think it's Knutsford, but I'm not sure.
I haven't know the K.
Well, you wouldn't get... I think you'd book a hotel in the wrong part of the country. Anyway, Tyrone tells Alina about this hotel over the phone. She's like, well, I don't care about that. I want you to tell Fizz about us. And he's like, yeah, well, I can't because I've got to do the bookings of the hotel and make sure they put the mints on the pillows and stuff. Meanwhile, Fizz is telling Chesney about Lucas, and he's like, well, that's probably a good thing that Alina and Lucas are together. And then she gets an email through. Tyrone has made the fatal error of linking everything on his phone to Fizz's account.
Yeah, we say it's a fatal error, but maybe he's just trying to get Fizz to take a hint. Because it's twice in 2 episodes that he's accidentally not understanding how his phone works.
I know.
Ends up with Fizz.
Well, we say this is stupid, and this isn't the first time that this has happened, but judging from what I've read and seen about people's relationship problems, it seems to be a common theme of people sending each other the wrong messages or getting emails. The best way to
get around this is just don't have relationship problems.
Don't ever have a relationship.
Have a perfect relationship.
No, just don't have a relationship. Just keep yourself to yourself. That's what I say. So she gets this email saying congratulations on your hotel booking, and she knows it's not for her. I'm glad they didn't go down the route of her going, oh, it's fantastic that Tyrone
I know, that was quite
refreshing back with me. She's like suspicious. She doesn't immediately just jump to the conclusion that it's Alina and Tyrone, but she certainly is very open to the possibility. So she goes over to the garage. Tyrone's not there. How convenient. She sees Kevin. He's a bit nervous. She asks him what's going on. And he's like, oh, and she starts getting upset and says, I don't know what's happening, Kevin. And he tries to reassure her that everything's going to work out in the end, but he looks really sheepish when she walks off. Then Fizz sees Alina and Lucas coming out of the factory together, and she rushes over to them, going, "Oh, Lucas, watch out for this one. She's a right day." Lucas is a bit confused because obviously he has nothing. There's nothing going on with Alina as far as he's concerned. And Alina says, "Hasn't Tyrone told you yet?" And then
how did she say it?
"Hasn't Tyrone told you yet?"
Thank you.
And then Tyrone shows up in his truck. How awkward. And then Fizz says, "How could you do this to me after all we've been through?" And they have a bit of a Mexican standoff where they're all just standing looking at each other, socially distanced, because nobody's in each other's bubbles anymore. I mean, what's the COVID etiquette for sort of phasing out of somebody's bubble in a sexual manner? I don't know. I think that Chris Whitty, he's going to have something to say about this. There were very strict rules about bubbles.
Very true.
Just because I don't know how many jabs you guys have had, but
all we know is that Izzy is vaccinated. Apart from, as far as we know, the whole of the rest of the street are just immune. Not immune.
This is the thing.
That's the opposite of immune. Crawling with COVID.
This is the thing. The government should have been just very clear and stopped fanning around. They should have been like, no shagging, no kissing, no touching, no stroking.
Yeah.
Leave each other alone. Just for a year. How about that? They can't even do that, can they? So she's disgusted. It kind of is obvious what's going on. She stomps home, and then we have a heart-to-heart number 2 when Tyrone and Fizz are talking again about the ruins of their relationship.
Couple of scenes this was.
"Where are you at it all this time?" she says. "In our bed." And Tyrone tries to get her to see that they're not a couple anymore. Men often say that women hint too much. I think Tyrone's been hinting too much about this. He didn't actually really come out and say that he wanted to break up with her. He's just kind of conveniently not letting her know one way or the other. And I think we said before in the show last week, like, I don't really know what their relationship is. And I think that Coronation Street was deliberately leaving it up in the air because they didn't know either. So that was very good. So Fizz is gutted because she says he made her think that they were maybe had a chance. And Tyrone says, "I've not had an affair, I've done nothing wrong." He admits that Kevin knows, and Maria's found out, and she gets mad and calls him a coward for not telling her, and asks her, "Do you really love her?" And Tyrone's like,
Ask him,
"Yeah, I do. I do love her." Oh dear. Oh, tragic. So Alina's on the bench with Emma, and she's very upset about all this strife, and she insists it's not her fault. And then she's like, "Oh, what have I done?" Talking about the children, and I love Maria comes and has a go at her, and she's like, "You've won, congratulations!" And Alina, I really feel like Alina's playing dumb here. I don't buy it.
I don't know. I think willful ignorance is the politest thing I can think of to describe this complete denial that she has. Like, again, this is the thing, judging by intentions versus actions. Alina seems to think that she's excused and absolved of any crime here because she didn't intend for this to happen. But unfortunately, her actions have led to this, and these are the consequences. And she can't pretend that she had nothing to do with it just because she didn't mean it. She has a couple of times attempted to say, "No, Tyrone, you need to go back to your wife."
You can't say, "No, Tyrone," and then jump on his...
Gemma, how rude.
I know that was really rude, but that's what she did, isn't it?
Yeah.
I hope that... Can we go back and delete that? Maybe just bleep out a word and we can insert what we like there. That's what she said.
What do you want to insert instead of a...
No! Write down the time. But anyway, so she's saying, "Oh, it's not my fault." Then Tyrone tells Fizz that she was the love of his life, but for the past few years, they've just grown apart. And they've stopped sleeping together, stopped looking at each other the way they used to, stopped kissing. Fizz is in bits. She says maybe she needed a few more looks and a few more kisses. It does seem like he's expecting her to have done all the work here, and...
Yeah, that's what she's basically saying. She's like, "Oh, for the last few... I've just been feeling like I've been a mother, basically."
Yeah. And he says, you stopped showing me that you love me. And she says, what more could I have done? Made a bit more of an effort, gone to the gym, slapped on a bit more makeup while I was making the kids tea. And then she says, I'm a real working woman, not a fantasy. And Hope is there like a Childline advert with her head between the banisters of the staircase, listening to her parents having an argument, sadly cuddling a unicorn. It was like the perfect NSPCC like poster child, literally. Yeah. Tyrone goes back to the flat and tells Alina that it's over between them. Fizz knows. He says it feels like a weight has been lifted and they can finally be together. And this is again when Alina keeps throwing bricks in the way of this, because she's like, I haven't asked Emma and Seb if you're going to move in. And Tyrone's like, well, let's just go to this hotel. And she's like, yeah, sure. I hope I'm worthy of Knutsford. And he says, you really are. And then Fizz gets a visit from Maria to apologise about the fact that she knew all along that this was going on and didn't tell her. And Fizz takes it out on her, basically, and says, you should have told me. I would have told you. I'm not your friend anymore. You shouldn't have lied to me. And then we get to see, Fizz gets to watch from the doorstep, wearing her mummy outfit of cardigan and dress, as Alina and Tyrone excitedly giggling like two schoolgirls, getting to the taxi wearing their finest.
I forgot to bring my pajamas. You won't need them, love.
And so Tyrone's all done up in a suit like a blimmin' footballer, off on the lash. And they get in the taxi and sort of head off to Knutsford. Whether you spell it with a K or an N, doesn't matter. They're going to have a good time.
Rutting in Knutsford.
Rutting and nutting. Slightly different from fagging and shagging. Yeah. On Friday, Fizz is forlornly doing some laundry. If there was... Laundry. Oh, that's what you should call it, for laundry.
For laundry and philandering.
When you're sad and you have to still do the household chores.
Yeah.
Ches comes over because Hope and Ruby have been asking him what's going on. He's obviously been looking after them. And Tyrone comes in and Fizz is like, hello, did you have a nice time? We've got to tell the girls today about what's going on. We need to talk about what we're going to say. And he's like, no, and walks off.
Well, he doesn't want to tell them yet, but she just wants to
she's like,
get it out in the open. It's been hanging over all this time. It's not fair on the girls that
I'm not particularly sure why Tyrone doesn't want to tell them now. I think it's just he doesn't want to tell them at all. But he can't get out of it, I'm afraid.
He's not ready for it yet.
They're having a confrontation and then Hope shows up and it turns out that she's run away from school and she's got all these awkward questions that Tyrone doesn't want to answer. Like, are you going to go and live with your new girlfriend and do you love her more than me? And when Tyrone asks her why she's asking these questions and how does she know about this, she's like, I heard it from Mummy. And Tyrone's like, Fizz, it's all your fault. He's just relieved that he can blame somebody else.
Yeah, he's assumed at this point that Fizz has been sitting Hope and Ruby down and telling them what a git their dad is.
He says, you've been sticking the knife in when I'm not here. And obviously that's not the case. He rushes off to Alina and he's moaning at her about what an awful person Fizz is. And if Alina had any illusions that this would not be like at least 50% of the next 6 months with Tyrone, she's wrong. The next 6 months is Alina either shagging him or listening to him saying what an awful person Fizz is and how unreasonable she's being about the fact that he wants to shack up with a new woman and still wants her to do his pants, clean his pants for him. So Emma comes in the middle of this and the luggage is in the hallway and she's like, you moving in or something? And they're like, is that okay? And she's like, not really, you didn't even ask me. And this is really awkward for me because it makes me look like I'm taking sides and I'm not. And I was really proud of Emma for this because she stood up for herself and she didn't just let them walk all over her.
Yeah, I thought it might be a bit of, great, more the merrier.
And then just go sigh to the camera. But no, she said, this is not acceptable. Really like that. Tyrone says, okay, well, I'll have to look for a place of my own. Maybe you could move in with me. And she's like, what a great idea. Good luck. Fizz has a difficult chat with Hope because she's upset about Daddy not wanting to live with them. And she works out, I think, that she overheard this.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And she says, look, we're all going to talk about this. Me, you, Ruby, Tyrone, we're going to explain it all properly. And Hope says, I don't want to see him. And then Chesney offers to come to take Ruby and Hope while...
Well, I think Ruby's still at school, while Hope's teacher is blissfully unaware of the fact that then,
She's like,
that one child
thank
down.
God that pyromaniac's left.
Yeah.
So he says, look, I'll look after the kids while you talk to Tyrone. Then we have drama because Gemma and Chesney are in a bit of a tiz because only Hope's gone off and attacked Joseph, whose arm is now in a sling, because she does not deal with stress very well, and she hits people and starts fires because she's exciting. Chesney confronts Tyrone in the street and says, "Oh yeah, Hope knew about your fancy piece because she heard you arguing," and he lays into him and basically blames him for Hope and what has happened to Joseph. So Tyrone goes and mopes to Alina, who says, "Oh, the girls need you." So Fizz goes to the garage to find Tyrone. He's not there. She figures he's probably with Alina, and then she's looking at her phone and they suddenly connect to the cloud where, for some reason, they've got a family account of photographs, and she gets to see the pictures of the hotel. It's very, very convenient that there weren't any X-rated ones.
I know.
Luckily, it was just
sex tape.
Luckily, it was
Knutsford sex tape.
God. Luckily, it was just pictures of the food and them smiling. What a pillock. She tells him about what Hope has done, and he needs to come with her to talk about it. And he's like, "Oh, it's not my fault. I don't want to talk to her because I don't want her to upset her, and it's she doesn't like me anymore anyway," which is such a cowardly thing to say. Like, "Oh, I don't want to talk to
It really
this."
was like he's just avoiding responsibility here.
Completely.
Now, he doesn't want to. He knows that. I think he's feeling guilty about this.
Yeah.
That he's to blame. He doesn't want to see, his little daughter's heart break. Well, daughterish half, and know that he's the one that's responsible for this.
So,
Fizz
she calls him out on it. So you're just trying to avoid responsibility. She goes back home and she gets Ed to change the locks. And Ed comes round and he talks to her about it. And he says, "Look, at the end of the day, the only thing that should matter is the girls."
I thought that was a really nice scene.
Yeah.
We were talking about the fact that none of the Baileys ever have anything to do with anybody else on the street, and I thought that must surely be Ed and Fizz's first scene together. I thought he came across as a really decent, understanding chap. I mean, Coronation Street's got a massive problem with lots of characters not having any friends, so Fizz, this is the time really when Fizz would be looking for
she just told Maria where to go, so she
cry.
doesn't have a
friend She did with
anymore.
Maria. I mean, Toya, is she still friends with Fizz at the moment? I would say probably, but I don't know why Fizz isn't
must be very
going to her
difficult
particularly.
though to have a. If your friend's a counsellor, this is a problem I often hear between men and women, where men try to solve problems and women just want you to listen. This is obviously a stereotype and generalisation, but a lot of the times friction between men and women is like, well, I tell him my problem and then he tries to fix it for me, and I don't want him to do that. I want him to just listen. And I would imagine it's quite tempting if you're Toya to go, "Oh well, keep a diary and write your feelings down and stuff," whereas Fizz just wants her to go, yeah, he's a bastard.
Yeah.
And it also must be very difficult to listen to somebody and be like, "I know exactly what you should be doing, but you didn't ask me, so..."
Don't want to have to charge you for my advice.
Exactly, you can't afford it. So
Toya.
I love this bit. Tyrone tries to put his key in the door, and it won't fit anymore. I tell you what, that's a metaphor for their relationship, isn't it? The locks have been changed, physically and metaphorically, and he says to Fizz he wants to speak to the kids, and she says, "No, it's all sorted now, you're not coming in, they're in the bath, they're settled out." And he says, "I want to tell them I love them," and she says, "Well, tough, I've done it for you," and closes the door in his face. Very cathartic there.
Another great week for this story, I have to say. I'm really, really pleased with how this is going. I think the pacing is just right as well. It's not feeling, too rushed or anything, is it?
No, I think
it's just plodding along. It's just everything that they're doing is making it feel quite still just very real and relatable and natural, and
the only thing
not over the blown over the top, or
I think
that's not a
it is
phrase,
a bit
but you know what I mean.
I think it's a bit accelerated now. It's not as bad as it was when we basically had a relationship between Alina and Tyrone based on him helping her with a spreadsheet.
No, I know it. That's the problem.
That really is unfortunate, because it's still, if they wanted me to feel sympathy for Alina and Tyrone, they should have spent a bit longer preparing the groundwork for them to have some kind of bond or understanding with one another.
I think that in the Fizz and Tyrone scene on Wednesday or whenever it was, it wasn't, you know, it wasn't the same as the epic 9-minute or whatever it was, but I really did enjoy that. And again, the dialogue was incredibly relatable with her and her talking about, you know, she's a real woman, this is just a fantasy, and all that. I think that Tyrone did a better job of selling the fact that he'd been unhappy in their relationship, that this was the best he'd done. But I don't know whether I was thinking, well, he just had time to prepare this speech, or whether it was just a better script this time. But whatever is the case, the fact remains that we hadn't seen, as far as I'm concerned, any of this sadness. We were just had to believe that that's what he said he was feeling. And I think in a way, really needed to be shown.
In a way, it's kind of good, because we were blindsided the same way Fizz was, but it doesn't help me.
But I mean that works in the case of like Aiden's suicide, where it's like you never know what's going on underneath. But this they could have really laid the groundwork, and they didn't. But I mean, I know a lot of people who are on Tyrone's side in this were saying no, they have had Fizz nagging all this time. But I mean, we've said all this.
I just haven't seen it. I don't get what is the deal with nagging and people just dismissing it completely out of hand. Like, it's one thing if somebody's asking you to do something over and over again and you're going to do it, but you just can't do it right now. But just asking a man to do something in the house is not nagging.
No, I know. I think that she's you know, she's a...
Anyway, I like the fact... And you don't know what you're saying, do you?
No, I don't know what I'm saying.
I like the bit where Fizz said, "This is what a real woman looks like." And normally I find that quite annoying, that phrase, real woman, because obviously it's made up by Dove to sell soap to people by saying it doesn't matter whether you're fat or thin, buy soap, you dirty cow. And I think the phrase real women often seems to be used to demean one group of women against another. You know, like, oh, you're a real woman if you have a cardigan, but if you're a size 0, you're not a real woman, sort of thing. But what she was being a bit more less metaphorical, wasn't she? Because she's literally saying Alina is a fantasy. The Alina in your head is not the Alina that is real. I'm the real woman here. I'm the one that you know, and this is what I look like. This is the result of years of us being together and me helping you and supporting you by raising children and putting dinner on the table and cleaning your socks and things. This is what a real woman looks like. Alina, you've seen her walking around, you know, dressed up
and undressed.
You've seen her putting her best foot forward to you. What is Alina going to look like in 20 years' time? You know?
Yeah.
And yeah, I just thought that was, and it reminded me again of the scene, and I said this last week, the Love Actually scene when Emma Thompson is saying to Professor Snape, this, you know, I've been here for you this whole time.
Yeah.
And it's not good enough, obviously.
I got the impression with these two this week that they were, I don't know, I think they were trying to paint Tyrone as... Yeah, I think that they were trying to make us sympathise for Tyrone a little bit more this week. And I was feeling it. Like I said, I think he did a better job of saying how awful or how sad and how unfulfilling his life with Fizz had become. I think that Fizz was being made out to be a little bit harsh with the girls, especially at the end when he was saying, no, you're not having anything to do with them. And I understand that she
harsh regarding the girls, not with them.
Yeah, regarding the girls. And I think she really did have every right to slam the door in his face. She was angry. She's had her whole world turn upside down because of his raging libido. But I think that she I still love her, and I'm still definitely on Team Fizz. But I think that there was a few things today where I was thinking,
maybe not.
This is ammunition for the anti-team Fizzers.
I prefer it to be a bit more balanced.
Yeah. It's real, isn't it? And also there are a few moments between Tyrone and Fizz, between Tyrone and Alina, where it felt a little bit sweet in a way. The bit where she's like, "Oh, I hope I'm good enough for Knutsford," and the way that Alan delivered that line of "Oh, you really are," it felt like he does actually feel something for her, and not just for "I'm with this sexy young Romanian strumpet." And what was the other one that she said? Oh, just when he was talking about the weight's been lifted, he looked like really relieved and happy, and it has been a weight. So
I know, but
I'm not defecting at all. I'm just saying that I think Tyrone have painted him in a bit more of a sympathetic light this week, and I wonder whether it's going to continue and whether Fizz is going to be, cast more as the villain. She's still the wronged woman at the end of the day, but I wonder whether the tide's going to be turning for some people on Team Fizz.
She was obviously good enough for him before this, wasn't it? Good enough. I think...
Yeah, last week we had Daniel as an adequate man. She has been an adequate woman.
It just feels very bitter. I think a lot of... this is one of these stories that's not just about the story. It's about you and where you are in your life and how you can relate to this or not. And... just feels a bit like, you were good enough up to this point, and now bye. I just think that if Tyrone had acknowledged and thanked her for everything that she has done, up to this point, would be a bit easier to swallow, because he's not even said anything like, "You've been a brilliant mum, you've been fantastic to me, you've been." I mean, he said that you were the love of my life, but he's not thanked her for everything that she's done. And obviously, I'm not saying that she's never had him do anything for her. But it would be nice if he said, "I'm sorry that I've done this to you. I really appreciate everything you've done. And I know it doesn't matter to you right now, but I want you to know that you are very special."
It felt like he was kind of trying to say it, but he couldn't maybe get those words out. And like I said, I'm not defecting here, but
you don't need to apologise for sympathising with him, because he again represents people that this has happened to.
Yeah.
And I think that for his own kind of self-defence mechanism, he's refusing to acknowledge what he's doing, and he won't say what he really needs to say to her to let her move on, really, because she feels like he's been ungrateful and he has taken and not given anything back. And again, this is a story that you project your own experiences onto. So I'm projecting my experience of like being your wife for many years and doing lots of things around the house
and being a real woman,
not a Dove buying woman, which is a brand of soap. I don't know, I guess it's in America as well. So if you were to turn around tomorrow and go off with somebody, I would feel the same way that I feel for Fizz about this relationship.
Yeah.
But if I was the one who found a bloke, a nice Romanian bloke, he does nails, and I was suddenly like, oh, I feel like this guy's really hunky, and actually I don't... You're boring because all you do is talk about Coronation Street. I might feel a completely different way about it.
Yeah.
But because of where I am in life, I think that Fizz is the injured party.
I'm glad that they brought the girls into it, or one of the girls into it this week, because Ruby was definitely very conspicuous by her absence this week, wasn't she? She was talked about a lot, but not shown. So
it is unfortunate because obviously Ruby is Tyrone's daughter, and Hope is Fizz's daughter.
Yeah, and I think this would possibly feel better if it was Ruby that was upset by it, because I know Hope considers Tyrone to be her dad and everything, but
it's a very awkward situation because Ruby's already sort of been rejected by Tyrone, because when she went through her pyromaniac phase...
I hope you're talking about...
Oh, sorry, yeah. When she went through that phase, she and Fizz went away.
Yeah.
And
so now it's like
Tyrone really did sort of distance himself from Hope when she was going through this, like, oh, your daughter's doing this. And they really had that kind of big rift between the two.
Yeah, and it's like, does Daddy really love me back then?
Yeah, before then it felt more like they were a unit, and then when Hope started acting out, the cracks became more apparent, and I think that the cracks maybe were always there, and I'm not sure. I don't like that idea of this family who have been together for so long, like having these secret rifts because of biology and whose genes are in whose child. It just feels really sad, and I wonder whether it would feel a bit different if Ruby was there, like you said. Because it really feels like Tyrone's like, well, I'm not interested in Hope anymore. Yeah. Don't you think? I really think that, because he's like, well, she's rejected me. And I think that was I think he felt relieved. Like, good, it's her fault then. It's Hope's fault because she rejected me first. It's such a childish way to react to that
bit where he was saying, "Oh, I don't want to go. I don't want to go and see her. She doesn't want to see me."
Very selfish.
It really,
very
really,
childish.
really was. Yeah. I wonder, like, whether he would leave Alina if he thought he was going to risk not seeing the girls again. If Fiz moved away, because a lot of people on the internet are still saying, well, Fiz has got no right to have that house, that's Tyrone's house. So if, say, she decided to move on and take the girls with her, what would he do then? I don't
think he would care. I think
about never seeing his daughters again? I
think that other people have done this in the past. This is not an unusual story. I think
the shine might quickly. Alina might lose her shine if that's out. I don't know.
I wonder what will happen when Alina works out that actually that house is in Tyrone's name.
And
not
that's
in
true.
A joint thing.
Is she going to try and persuade him to get his claws back and?
Change
the locks again for himself.
You can justify it from her perspective, like, you know, this is your house, why are you letting her kick you out? It's sad that you don't love each other anymore, but especially as you don't owe her anything.
Especially as they're potentially looking for somewhere to live as well. She might say, well, look, why don't you just go back to your own house? But I suppose it all boils down to the fact that Tyrone is feeling a bit guilty about what he did.
Well,
just not guilty enough, because he's having a lovely, lovely time.
Also boils down to who's going to look after the children. And I think that if Alina were to say, I will care for the children like Fiz does.
Just imagine if Fiz had to give up the children for Tyrone and Alina. They've both got equal right, Fiz and Tyrone, haven't they? Over the kids as a unit. So if Tyrone's like, no, I'm looking after them and I can provide the stable home with Alina.
Yeah, because obviously in this example, it is interesting to me that a lot of people kick up a fuss about, the children go with the mother all the time and it's not fair on the dad, etc. But it does seem like often it's just an unacknowledged joint decision that the mum takes the kids. Like, Tyrone never said, why do you think that you get the kids? Why don't I get the kids? He never questioned it. He just kind of went, yeah, you get the kids, I get the girl, you know? And I don't think that is something that doesn't happen in real life. I think that it can, I don't know, I don't want to be unfair to all men based on Tyrone's behaviour, but it's not something that I think is unusual. I don't want to. I think it's a really dangerous territory to get into, this whole, you know, man versus woman, dad versus mum, because I really, really want dads to get the rights and the acknowledgement for all the things that they do for children and their children, because they do a lot of stuff. But in this example, I'm not really impressed with Tyrone and his willingness to just, because when he was. He seemed grateful to move out because he was hurting his back and he was sick of Fiz being mean to him. You'd think that his heart would be breaking to be away from his children.
He had a couple of sad moments.
I don't have children. I don't know what it's like. I've heard that parents get quite attached. I can't imagine going, yeah, okay, I'll see you later, and leaving my kids. I don't think I'd be able to do it. Just because my back. I think that lots of parents would sleep on a bed of nails if it meant that they could be around their children.
Yeah. but they're only across the road, aren't they?
I don't know.
I.
It's very dangerous.
The funny
to
thing
speak
with all
about
of this is,
groups of people.
I think I still like Tyrone as a character, which is kind of going to show how well all of the actors in this are doing this story. Even though I hate Tyrone for what he's done with Fizz. If somebody
hate the sin, love the sinner, Michael.
And if I was still to be asked like, who are some of your favourite characters at the moment, and Tyrone I always kind of quite liked, I'd still put him up there. I don't think he's necessarily gone down in my estimation, but it is a hate the sin, not the sinner, and
I don't like him.
I don't not like him. I don't feel the same way as I do necessarily towards other characters like Billy, for example, who I did used to really, really like, and now when Billy comes on, it's like everything that's happened. I don't think I really like you anymore. I don't want to see a Billy scene.
I definitely dislike Billy more.
But with when the Tyrone scene comes on, even if Fizz isn't in it, it's like great, because I'm really into this story, which means that there is still the possibility for some kind of redemption maybe at the end, because I want them to get back together, and I think I would probably quickly forgive him.
See, I guess I feel the same way, even though I don't really want to. I want to hate him, but I feel the same way about him as I would do if he punched a window and broke and slashed his wrists. I'd be like, well, what did you think was going to happen? You're an idiot and you deserve what you got, but I can't be too mad at you.
What did you
because you've been punished enough.
What did you think about how the whole reveal came about with Fizz and the old trousers over the sofa? I think that's
very
Lucas.
Classic.
I thought it felt fine. I enjoyed the moment when Fizz was putting two and two together there, when Lucas didn't have a clue what she was going on about. I thought I'm glad it's out in the open, and I thought that was, like you said, a little bit cliche, but it was fine.
What do you think at the end of all this? What do you think is going to happen? Because in my mind, I keep going,
I can't see Tyrone and Alina staying together.
I keep thinking to myself, oh, I hope you didn't take him back. And I think a lot of people are talking about what will Fizz do when Tyrone returns, and it's feels quite inevitable, and an unspoken, unacknowledged assumption that people are making that this whole thing's going to go completely wrong between Tyrone and Alina, and Tyrone will return to Fizz.
Yeah, I mean, what I don't want to happen is for some hunk to swoosh in and sweep Fizz off her feet. Yeah, exactly, because I'd then, even though it's not Fizz's fault, and she would be perfectly in the right to move on, as Tyrone's the one that's done the dirty on her. I mean, he was saying in that scene this week, I didn't have an affair, and I mean,
yes, you did.
He had one in his mind, didn't he? Basically,
he kissed somebody else, and this is what I said. It doesn't really matter what you think of somebody else's relationship, I guess. The thing is, what are the boundaries within that relationship? Yeah. So it's not down to other people to judge what somebody else should be allowed to get away with in that relationship. But clearly, it's not okay between the two of them that he goes off and kisses somebody else.
But what I was saying was that I quite like Fizz in her role as wronged single mother who I can get really sympathetic for, and I think if she was to be swept away and have her own separate life, I'd be like,
it wouldn't feel.
She's happy now, and I enjoy feeling angry
happy. I want
with
her. To be mad forever.
Yeah. So I either want that, or I want her to eventually get back with him, and it still feels to me that they probably will. I cannot see Fizz and Tyrone and Alina lasting, even though,
I can't
like
either.
I said today, they seem to be feeling a bit more like a couple. But it's interesting, we have the Seb and Alina, which we'll get onto in a little bit, and they've only been seeing each other for a handful of scenes, haven't they? Yet there feels more real passion and friendship,
there is so much more
adorableness and spark between those two that we've hardly seen than this kind of forced relationship between.
It does feel forced.
It's just for storyline purposes, for we're going to have an affair for Tyrone and Alina.
Right. At the end of this, right, if Tyrone comes crawling back to Fizz, what do you want to happen? Because I want her to tell him to get lost and never darken her doorstep again. And I tell you something else.
I don't think I want that.
When this happened with Sally and Kevin, Sally said that's not acceptable, and she never took Kevin back.
She did. After the Natalie Horrocks affair.
After Molly.
After the Molly affair, yeah.
Because I didn't see the Natalie Horrocks
No, that's
thing.
true, that's true.
So when this happened, so to me, they'd been together forever. I don't know about Natalie Horrocks, but then what I saw of them was that they're a couple, and then Molly came along, he went off with her, and then she killed Molly with a knife and a tram.
A tram,
And then she said, that's it, no more, you're bye.
But they're friends again.
They're friends, but I just love this. Like, I'll forgive you, but you're not coming back, and I will never forget what you did to me. And I always think it's weird, though. When you say, I'll forgive, but I won't forget, it feels very interchangeable with, I'll forget, but I won't forgive.
Sally and Tim Sally and Kevin, sorry, are weirdly friendly.
Yeah,
So far
weird.
that she had Kevin in her campaign video for mayor. Kevin's been their best man.
Yeah, it's weird. But I just really like this kind of like, no, I'm a rock. I am solid rock. You can't get in. You can't. That's it. There's nothing to give back to you. You had your chance. Never, never, never forgive. Never again. And I just really want Fizz to be like, nope. You had your chance. You threw it back at me. That's it. I will never, ever forgive you.
I know. I just worry that Fizz would be cast even more adrift than she has been in recent years if she didn't go back with Tyrone. And if she ends up with someone else, I think, no, it's... Like I said, I don't want to see her with someone else. Well, no, I mean, they can have a new character or something or whatever, can't they? But no, I don't know. I don't know what a satisfactory conclusion is for this at the moment. I
just really think that there should be consequences for what Tyrone did.
I think if he goes through these consequences, and if he is crawling over a bed of nails and over hot coals to get back to her, and she rejects him a few times and then eventually takes him back, then that would probably leave me satisfied.
I understand, again, and I don't want people to feel like I'm judging them. I'm judging these characters because this is what I see. And the fact of the matter is, over the course of like a few weeks, he's gone from no problems whatsoever to I've always hated you, and you always make me eat Piccadilly sandwiches.
See, that's not the same for me.
And I'm going to leave you and I'm going to shag this girl while you still think that there's a chance for us to get back together. And, like, in the course of, like, 3 weeks, that's unacceptable. If it took place over a longer period of time and he split up with her and he said, I don't know where this is going with Alina. I don't think it's fair to stay with you while I want to pursue something with Alina. I'm not going to get together with her straight away. Let's get the kids sorted out first. Let's sort them out, make sure they're happy. Then maybe I'll see what is going to happen with me and Alina. That, to me, is not great for Fizz because it's not her fault, but way better and much more morally upstanding than shagging away with somebody and saying, sorry, I didn't know you would have a problem. Can you see what I'm saying? It's the time span that bothers me.
Yeah. Okay, well...
And the fact that
That's the nature of soap, isn't it? And the blocking and
It isn't really, though.
Well, sometimes...
I suppose a soap is one of the few programmes that can do these things in real time. But they don't
They don't always choose to.
Yeah.
Should we move on to the next story? Do you want to say something about Maria farting?
What do you want to say about it?
Gemma, you overheard Maria saying, What was it? She came to the door and was like,
she went, I thought
and it sounded like I farted. Check out our social media if you want to see the clip. And we're not the only ones that said that, because a lot of people have replied to us and said that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to the next story.
Who are we going to judge now?
We are going to judge Sharon Bentley Gaskell. It's funny, she was barely Bentley at all in the show.
Bentley.
In previous years. She was Sharon Gaskell right to the very end, but she's definitely still a Bentley, even though she has kicked him to the curb since. I would have thought that she might go back to her maiden name. Maybe that's in the future, but for
maybe
now,
she doesn't want to
Is she Bentley Repentley? It seems not.
Maybe she doesn't want to give up all that sweet Bentley cash.
Maybe. So it kind of starts off on Monday. There was a few little hints that she was going to be coming. And obviously it's been widely advertised in the soap press that we were going to be seeing a return for Sharon very, very soon. So I'm sure lots of people on Monday were going, I think I know what's coming here. But basically, Brian gets a call at the cabin, and this is in the middle of the trolling storyline as well, saying that Rita has been nominated for the Golden Heart Award. And he thinks that it's another prang, which doesn't make sense to me, because I always thought that they had it written in the Golden Heart Award / Weatherfield Good Samaritan rulebook that somebody from Coronation Street had to be nominated every single year.
And nobody else has done anything all year apart from Rita.
Exactly. So, but he's like, no, putting the phone down. This must be a prank. And honestly, just before we move on, I think it is a little bit ridiculous how much they are constantly going back to these silly awards. It's getting a bit tedious. It feels like the writers don't have any other ideas up their sleeves. Does seriously somebody?
What?
People from the same street don't get nominated for the same community awards every time. What's the region of Weatherfield that you can be nominated for? Is it they're just because Coronation Street, there's all this crime and murder and drugs goes on there, and they're just constantly rewarding it, like you're trying to reward the bad child to try and change its behaviour?
It's like a participation award for not blowing up the street.
But anyway, we've had who did we have? Gemma was nominated for it. We had Aggie nominated for it. We had Michael Rodwell nominated for it.
Gemma was nominated for it for her work in helping Rita cross the road.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. Anyway, Brian says, no, this is just another prank, bog off. Later on, Jenny's on the phone to Rita, and she's mad because she thinks that somebody's hoaxed Rita. Plus, it's made Rita start to think that she hasn't done enough good in her life. I think maybe she thought, oh, maybe it is real. No, it can't be real. Why would anybody do this to me? I'm just a lowly old paper
seller
vendor, and Jenny, that's right, sends Emma round to the cabin with a takeaway G&T, double G&T, should I say.
Well, Rita negotiates the double.
She does. She's still got it, hasn't she? Wednesday is where it really all kicks off, though. So Gemma tells Rita that Brian's being very shifty about Kathy in the beginning of the episode. And then who walks in but Sharon Bleeding Bentley, played by the lovely Tracy Bennett. And I was so excited to hear about this. And if you listen to the bonus podcast this week, which is a character profile of Sharon, you get all the backstory about what's been going on with her in years gone by on Coronation Street.
Well, it got updated again today.
Yeah, I mean, already our character profile is out of date because we recorded it yesterday, and a few new details of her history have come about, but never mind, you'll know what they are. It's more about what happened before. Pre-millennium. So she comes in as like, Rita Sullivan, as I live and breathe, don't shoot, because things were left on not so good terms between them last time that Sharon was in the show. So
I think Rita got her fortune from some kind of malevolent genie, because she's been blessed with a great deal of personal wealth. But it seems to have been at the expense of most of her very close relationships, especially with Jenny and Sharon, both of whom have tried to fleece her for her money over the years. And it does feel as though it's like a curse, all this money. I don't know why Rita's holding on to it. She's like a dragon.
So Gemma is not happy to see Sharon. She's heard all about her. Rita is obviously very, very wary at first as well. And Sharon starts off straight away going for the sympathy vote by saying, oh, well, you know, I've been cancer free for a few months, and all my time ill made me reflect on my past behaviour. She wants to patch things up. She wants to sort it out. She wants to be forgiven. Gemma is still very, very suspicious at this point, and Rita is being caught off guard a little bit. She doesn't know what to think, because she knows what Sharon is like, and I think she's had the sob stories before, and I'm kind of as I go through this, I'm going to be talking about Sharon, I imagine, with the kind of slant as if we shouldn't really trust her. And although this week wasn't dripping with evidence that Sharon's still a massive wrong-un, there was enough by the end of Friday that should make us, be mightily suspicious of her, I would say. So they go off to the Rovers anyway, Rita and Sharon do later. We learn that Sharon's not had any kids. I like the way she was just like, no, why would I want that?
There's quite a lot of women on Coronation Street who don't have children, and they all have a twinkle in their eye.
Not poor Toya, that's a tear.
Oh, poor Toya.
Ian Bentley left her for a woman he met online. I love the way that she delivered that. It's just like, online. Gemma, the Rovers, is desperately ringing Jenny to try and get her over, to say, you better get back round here quickly, because you're what's the opposite of a successor? You're pre-something or other.
Predecessor,
that's the one. Your predecessor is here. Get round here, because she's trying to butter up Rita and probably try and fleece her. Sharon's there in the booth with Rita, name dropping old characters. She's like, oh, are Sally and Kevin still here? What about the Duckworths? What about
Dead.
Terry?
Dead.
What about Gail?
Dead.
What about Leanne?
Dead.
So I love that, and I'm sure lots of long-term fans, it gave them lots of little memories about everything that Sharon got up to with those various characters. And Paul Duckworth, it was nice they got a mention. Interesting that she mentioned Terry, because she had a fling with him a couple of times before in the past.
The answer to this is, don't you have Facebook?
Oh, well, yeah, I know. Jenny strides into the Rovers for a showdown, and when I heard that Sharon was going to come back, I thought this is going to be fantastic. It's going to offer a bit more opportunity to see Jenny on screen, and surely they're going to have these two foster daughters clash, and by gum they did.
I've been loving Sally Ann Matthews.
In this particular scene, this was everything that I could have wanted. She's right in there. Go, how dare you nominate Rita for anything? You don't know her. You tried to fleece her. You sold the cabin from underneath her.
Now you've upset
Rita. She's in a tiz because she hasn't actually done anything to serve the community over a couple of years. That she says, and Sharon's like, you know what? I'm right. And Jenny's kind of caught off guard a little bit by this. I think she was expecting to have a bit more of a fight on her hands, but Sharon's saying, no, you're right. It was all my fault. I'm trying to rebuild bridges with Rita now, and Jenny's pretty mad that Rita has given Sharon the benefit of the doubt on this, because she thinks that she cannot trust her any more than she can throw her, which was a little bit rich, to be fair, because before Jenny's return a couple of years ago, the last that Rita had seen of her was Jenny not fleecing her in exactly the same way, but still trying to get some of her money off her, wasn't it?
I can't remember where. Was it the beauty thing?
Yeah. She wanted to set up a beauty business with Rita and get some money for that. And
so she went off. Then she came back for like an episode or something.
Yeah, and I seem
with Nikita.
I seem to remember. Yeah, and then she
said, "Listen, Rita, I've got this business proposal," and she had this plan and everything. And she said, "I just need all this money."
Yeah.
And Rita was like, "I'm not giving you this. I'm giving you £1,000 and go away and never talk to me again." Basically.
Yeah. And I think when Jenny came back, it took her longer than just a couple of episodes for Rita to forgive her as well. So Sharon's still doing it good. Maybe Jenny's just jealous that she had to work harder for Rita's forgiveness after her period of
Well, yeah, she was in a grotty bedsit, wasn't she? And Rita had to take pity on her.
Yeah, eventually. Anyway, so Sharon's got the benefit of the doubt from Rita, like I said, and so Jenny goes out the back of the pub and speaks to Ronnie, and there are a couple of scenes this week with Jenny and Ronnie, which is making me think, you watch yourself,
something's
lady.
Going on.
You're married to Johnny. Don't you give eyes to Ronnie.
Ronnie, Johnny.
Feels like something's going on.
Confused.
Ronnie, Johnny, something's going on-y. That's all I can say there, and I don't like it.
Write that one down. You might need that later.
She doesn't know what Sharon's game is, but she is going to find out. Brilliant, that's exactly what I wanted from Jenny. I'm really, really chuffed that she is not buying any of it.
The case.
Although, on Friday's episode, Sharon seems to have pulled the wool over Jenny's eyes just a little bit. I don't know. Gemma is also seeming to be warming to the idea of Sharon a little bit by the end of Wednesday's episode, but Jenny soon sets her straight. They say, we need to protect Rita at all costs. Sharon's after her money. I do not trust her. So she has another go at Sharon when she comes into the pub later. She's like, I'm not going to let you hurt Rita again.
Jenny does.
You've done your good Samaritan bit, says Jenny. Now bog off. Sharon says, fine. And then she whips out this £10,000 cheque to give to Rita, paying her back kind of for some of the money from last year, from last time.
£45,000
yeah.
in 99 money, which is what, 79,000
yeah,
today's money.
I mean, it's something, isn't it?
It's an instalment, is what that is.
So Sharon at this point is feeling like, the ball's in her court, and she's like, well, actually, I don't want Rita's money. Here's some money for her. I've written my phone number on the back, and if Rita wants to get in touch with me, she can. And she's like, tra, and kind of swishes round with a speed that would make Sean jealous, and strides out of the Rovers. Fantastic. So Rita's getting her check later, and she says, look, everyone deserves a second chance, and maybe I don't think this check's going to bounce, but if it does, well, still got my name on the telly. about the Weatherfield Golden Heart.
I thought that was
Award
just Barbara Knox
yeah.
saying about her
At least
wages.
I got my name credited in an episode for the first time this year. So
yeah, I don't
shrug.
care if my wages check bounces. Although Ian McLeod's going to hear about it, I tell you that.
No, I was a little bit worried after Wednesday's episode, to be honest, that we weren't going to see any of Sharon on Friday. I thought it might be she comes in, gets
Makes a big
rejected,
splash.
and then disappears off and then reappears next week. So I was really, really pleased to see that this story kept on going full pelt on tonight's episode. So Jenny comes round the cabin at the beginning of the episode with a bit of an apology for Rita, and I was thinking, oh no, I don't really want you to apologise. You stood your ground. You did this to protect her, Jenny. I don't blame you for this. So Rita decides that she's going to organise a slap-up meal for her 3 daughters in the bistro later, and Gemma is the 3rd daughter, and she was like,
You're so mean. You're like, oh, they're not her daughters.
I don't. I
When
don't
you
put Gemma in the same level as Sharon and Jenny when it comes to Rita's fake offspring.
I like it. When you die, I'm going to collect foster children.
Okay.
They were just grown adults that helped me across the road.
I thought it was so sweet. Rita was getting really quite emotional about the fact that it was going to be a bit of a family reunion.
This is what I like. You know, family can be what you make it, can't it?
Yeah,
it can be, not always. And sometimes your real family are actually the ones that you should get rid of.
Yeah, I mean, considering a couple of years ago Rita was feeling lonely and having Christmas trees falling over on top of her in the flat, and now she's got
just lying on the floor going, well, I deserve it.
Yeah, and that poor cat. And now she's got this family building up again. She's chuffed about it. So
and she's getting checks off them.
Yeah, bonus.
This is why you have kids, isn't it? They give you money when you're old.
The daughters 3 turn up at the bistro later. Jenny starts trying to apologise. She's kind of tripping over her words a little bit and not really wanting to apologise. I don't think Jenny really ever has to apologise very often. I think she'd rather just scowl at somebody who she's wronged. But Sharon says, look, just stop. You were right to hate me and my motives. I was a cow to Rita. You were right. I don't blame you whatsoever. So they all basically agree to forgive and forget, and they start having a nice giggle together. And Sharon proposes a toast. I think it was Sharon, to long lost sisters.
Aww.
But Jenny she gives her a look at the end of that scene that kind of shows that she's still not 100% sure. Yeah. It's not like I'm suspicious of you while your back is turned sort of look.
It was like
just a little look down going, yeah. Is she being honest here? I'm not sure. So they following on from Wednesday's Corrie name drop, we had another round of it on Friday's episode. I can't remember who they talked about again. It's probably the same characters again, because there's only so many people that Sharon actually knew that are still around.
Well, the thing is, there were people that were around in '99 that we don't care about anymore.
Yeah, and also the fact that Jenny and Sharon hadn't met before means that they were here at different time periods, so they maybe haven't got people in common. Exactly.
She did mention Curly, didn't she?
Oh yeah, Curly got a name drop, didn't she? You're right. Bring back Curly.
Who plays? What's his face?
Kevin Kennedy.
Kevin Kennedy's like somewhere in Great Britain. Kevin Kennedy's went, what?
My name on Coronation Street.
Curly, what?
Ian McLeod on the phone. You want me back? Just say the word and I'm up there. So Sharon's saying, look, to be honest, I want to be involved in Rita's life a little bit more. I've been away from her for so long. I mean, to be honest, Sharon has only been part of Rita's life for about a year and a half of Rita's entire life. Whereas the rest of it, she either didn't know or she's been away in disgrace. So she's got a lot of making up to do.
Sometimes people leave a big impression on your heart.
Oh, she did, man. I loved a bit of Sharon. She's
you
great.
do, don't you?
Anyway, Jenny and Gemma aren't too sure about her, wheedling her way in here and thinking, hang on a minute, we don't want us to start splitting the wheel 3 ways.
This is 3 ways now. This is 33.333%. Not good.
And then Rita...
And she's already had 45 grand.
Rita texts Sharon at this point, and it becomes apparent that the reason that she's so late for the meal at the bistro is she purposely set this up. She just wanted the girls
to
have a chance to chat together and get to know each other and her plan work, basically. Gemma has to dash up at this point because she's got an urgent sounding call from Chesney, and this is about Joseph
being beaten up by Hope.
Getting kung fu done on him. Later, the ladies, Sharon and Jenny...
Hope has been watching Cobra Kai?
Probably. Jenny and Sharon are still getting on like a house on fire later, but eventually Jenny says, look, I need to get back to the Rovers now. I've actually got some work to do. But at this moment, Rita rings up again, and Sharon starts turning on the waterworks.
I know! Oh.
She begs Rita to come over. She says, oh, I've got now to go home for. Rita can hear that she's upset, and she agrees to come over. And again, Jenny at this point was... I think she was starting to fall for it. I was watching Jenny so carefully this week, because the last thing I want is for Jenny to be completely fooled by Sharon. I want Jenny to get get the upper hand here, and I don't want Jenny to go back to her kind of ditzy persona that she sometimes puts on, and completely blind to what's going on. Like when what's his face, Scott, was around the Rovers looking decidedly dodgy last year, and Jenny had no idea. She thought that he was the bee's knees. I don't need that with Sharon. I want Jenny constantly on her tail.
Well, Sharon, really, I don't know if she's done her research on Jenny or if this is just a happy coincidence as far as she's concerned, managed to hit the right notes for Jenny to sympathise with her when she starts to talk about having her brother dying, Jenny's son died, and being alone. Jenny's husband's in prison. So she can probably sympathise. What are you laughing?
Yeah, no, you're right.
She can probably sympathise with this.
Yeah, Wayne's dead, it turns out, and this is one of the reasons why our character profile this week is already out of date.
Gary and somebody else.
Yeah, the two nameless brothers did get a name drop, and she just said, "Oh, I've not talked to them in yonks." But she realises that, like, going through cancer and now being left, she got left Wayne's business in the will. She doesn't say what that business is. Dodgy business, it sounds like to me, and she needs a family more than ever now. And Rita's over there with them at this point, and she offers to put a roof over Sharon's head for a little bit. And like I said, Jenny seems to be falling for this too. It's like, I'll be there across the road if ever you need me as well. Maybe she does still suspect Sharon, but is kind of thinking this isn't the time to start objecting,
this up,
because I think at the moment Rita is going to side with Sharon.
There really is no point trying to derail Rita when she's in maternal mode.
No, exactly.
I know what Wayne's business is. I'm surprised you didn't pick up on it. He makes toilet rolls that you can upload a picture of your worst enemy to the company, and then they print that picture on the toilet roll, so you can wipe your bum with their face.
Is that what it is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
Michael,
Sharon should have started crying in the bistro and then...
Yeah, started wiping her face with Rita's
pictures of Jenny. Oh, no.
You laugh, Michael. This was big business back this time last year when there was no toilet roll to be had anywhere.
Very true.
That's probably what finished him off, all this overworking because of all the extra demand for toilet roll.
So, if anybody up to this point was suspicious of Sharon, you were proven probably to be quite right towards the end of the episode, because she gets a very dodgy, suspicious sounding phone call. She's standing outside the cabin at this point, kind of looking up at it, and she's telling mysterious caller, "You'll get what you want soon enough."
What does that mean? Who's that? Who's she talking to?
One might think that she's after the cabin again, or that she's just after Rita's money again. Or it could be something else.
Yeah, who's she talking to? It's not Wayne, because he's dead, unless she's lying.
Yeah, I can't speculate.
You get what you want.
I'm afraid I was a bit too excited about Sharon coming back to the programme, and I may have had a sneaky look ahead and seen what spoilers are happening. So I can't say here.
I wonder...
I just don't want to speculate.
All right, you don't need to keep saying that you don't want to speculate, but it is very intriguing.
I know
she's on the phone to somebody, and she says, "You'll get what you want." Now, who is this, and what do they want, and how does that relate, and who are they? How do they relate to this? This is very interesting, because obviously, does that mean she's got a link to somebody they really know, or is it somebody else that's going to come in? That's another character. And is that a new character, or is it somebody who's another old character from the past? Don't know. We're going to have to find out. Hope we don't have to wait too long, because what happens normally is that everybody guesses, and they guess every possible person, and somebody ends up being right just because you get 1,000 monkeys with 1,000 typewriters.
I don't even want to talk about it, because I don't want to give away.
You don't need to keep saying it, Michael. You said it several times now. I get it.
It was a great ending.
Sharon coming back.
Oh, brilliant. I often get excited about particular characters coming back, and sometimes they don't meet my expectations. Like, you know, Brian Packham, for example. I was really, really chuffed to hear that he was coming back in, when was it, 17, 16, when they brought him back?
1764.
2017 or 2016 or wherever it was, because in his first stint, Brian was a much likeable character than he is now.
We saw a bit of that.
We did see a bit of that. He's quite nice this week, actually, but I've been let down a little bit by that.
Slag off.
No, but Sharon absolutely lived up to my expectations.
She's a little minx, isn't she?
Fantastic.
I like her.
Tracy Bennett,
powerhouse.
What a coup it is getting her back.
Sparky girl.
She is a fantastic actress. She's got so much
energy,
hasn't she? That every line is delivered fantastically.
She's definitely really
she feels
living
that
the part.
She is. She's got the look. She's got the intonation just right. She's
a good looking gal.
She looks like she has thought about how am I going to deliver every line here.
Well, no, it doesn't look like that. She just does it.
Well, no, she she does it. But
you can't see her working.
No, you absolutely can't. No, you're right. She it's just fantastic. I think that she is brilliant. And I'm feeling for her what I think everybody else felt for Debbie Webster when she came back. And I think Debbie's fab now.
Oh, wonder
but
if they could
it took
team
me
up.
a long time to like Debbie. Well, I mean, you know,
really?
a few months to like Debbie. I think you liked her first.
Yeah, I did.
But it was closer to Christmas where I was like, you know what, I'm actually enjoying Debbie. I think it was when she went bad. When Debbie first came in and she was just sitting in the desk in number 13 typing away on her laptop for a few months on her business. I was like, oh, she's not like, she's fine. But yeah, as soon as the whole Ray thing came out, I was like, awesome. Because she's a bit of a bad girl. And you're right, what you're saying about Debbie and Sharon possibly teaming up. There's no reason at all why it could happen. But that would
Depends
be
on who she was talking
brilliant.
to on the phone if it was Debbie.
I would love a team up between Debbie and Sharon, these 80s returnees.
I know.
Doing a bit of dodgy business together. Although Debbie has, turned over a new leaf, hasn't she? And whatever it is that Sharon is up to, maybe she is going to be able to turn over a new leaf. I would love it if Tracy Bennett could stay in the show, but I think she's... I don't know what she wants. I don't know whether she wants to stay long term. I don't know whether Corrie want her long term. I don't know whether this was her saying that I'll be able to come in and do a short story, or whether it's something that can last a bit longer. But if they are going to keep her in for longer, I would certainly... I could see her... I don't know. I think just Debbie, they're similar, aren't they? They're just so feisty and fiery and spunky and a little bit evil and glammed up, and they're just brilliant, both of those. And everything, the confrontation with Jenny met my expectations. I'm just so chuffed with it. You are what?
God, you love her, don't you?
I think she's ace.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I am absolutely loving all these steely-haired vixens coming in as like middle-aged women who are just so commanding and unapologetic and taking up space and being powerful and knowing what they want and causing trouble for people. I think it's fantastic. I love Corrie for doing this because, And
Corrie's all about strong women, isn't it?
Corrie is about strong women. But I think we mentioned before that, I think that they're doing a good job in like broadening their demographics a bit, because they're not really old enough, this group of people, to be oldies, but they're like, they're women who have established themselves in life. They've got a few years under their belts and they know what they want out of life. And I really think that, maybe it's because we do have women of this age, but they've been kind of ground down a little bit by domesticity. Whereas you've got people like...
Yeah, you're right. And these ones haven't.
And I'm going to add in Jenny here as well. She's younger, but this kind of like, women, middle-aged women, just coming in and just showing that you don't have to be Alina to be, a sexy, feisty, powerful, exciting woman who has got... something about her. They all have something really sparky and amazing, and it's something that you really can only get with age and experience, and they're showing it off, and I love it.
Yeah.
And the thing is about it is that it feels like you can't really talk about it without kind of insulting them in inverted commas by even mentioning that they have age, you know, because being an older woman is not really a complimentary thing to say about anybody. But I love these characters because they're showing that you don't need to worry about that, and they are, like I said, commanding and exciting and energetic and wonderful and attractive and well groomed. They've got beautiful hair. They've got great fashion sense. There's somebody that you can look up to, you know. All of them, all of this group. I love them all, and I'm really excited to see what they're going to get up to. And they're also troublemakers. I like this because women once you're always supposed to be nice and kind and stuff. I think when you get to a certain age as a woman, you're like, oh, you know what, I don't even care anymore. I'll do what I like, thank you very much.
I love the little look, and I don't know how many sort of listeners saw it, that Sharon gave Rita when she was in the booth, and she was blowing her nose at one point. She just had a little look up at her, didn't she? And it was that moment that I think a lot of people, well, some people, if you caught it, but I've looked and go, hang on a minute.
What are you up to?
She's stringing her along here. She just gave her a little look as like, is she watching me? Is she falling for this?
Yeah, I love it. But I will say with Sharon, I don't think saying, oh, you know, she's sparking command and she knows what she wants, she's energetic, whatever. She's always been like that. She's not lost it. She's always been a bit of a flighty, what are you up to? Same with Jenny.
Yeah, definitely. And
Debbie also, to a certain extent. It really is the 80s revival of these amazing...
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about the Golden Girls coming in, you got Yasmin and
Kathy and Elaine.
I think these are like Charlie's Angels or something.
Absolutely. And I'm just thrilled at the prospect of this story bringing me back to the Jenny that I really, really love. I've always loved Jenny, but just over the last few years, it's felt like she's become just a little bit too naive, a little bit too, you know, get Jenny drunk to cause a few laughs. She's just been the river's taking her along, and now she's going back the other way like a salmon. Yeah, I need to see Jenny get the last laugh here, and I'm sure there'll be, you know, back and forth, and Sharon will be on top. It feels like it's going to be a proper cat and mouse game between these two brilliant characters.
I think you mean cat and cat.
Yeah, I think you're right, isn't it?
It's a cat fight, is what you're saying.
Basically, between these two. It's going to be brilliant.
It's going to be exciting. Like you say, I hope that they do this where they give both characters a chance to triumph over each other.
Yeah, not just Sharon always beating Jenny.
Yeah, because Jenny really is a character that shines in adversity and with a challenge, and also fighting against somebody. And I like that.
I wonder if she's going to get. I wonder if she's going to get Daisy in on this as well. She's just as a bit of young blood, a bit of ammunition there, because we haven't seen Daisy for a few weeks now since she went off doing her MLM with Sean. It's gonna be fab.
I want to see Daisy trying to sell Sharon some kind of collagen implants or something.
What I also want to see is, we've talked about, you know, remember Sally and Kevin, remember Gail, whatever. I want to see that a little bit as well. We've seen very little of Gail in recent months, and actually Kevin's been hanging around. He's been with the Tyrone storyline this week. You'd have thought that with the fact that Mike Lavelle was, you know, on the books for this week, maybe their paths might have crossed, but maybe the time is not right for this yet. But I hope we do get to see that, because one of the things I didn't like about Martin's return a few years ago, and that was very, very brief, is they didn't take the opportunity to have him catch up with all these other characters that he would have known. So I do want to see that. I mean, it's a shame that Leanne's not here at the moment, because that could have been quite fun. And when Sharon knew Leanne, she was a lot more, you know, old school, late 90s, hard-faced cow Leanne, and not the...
Chavvy Leanne.
Yeah, chavvy Leanne, yeah. And not the mum that she's turned into.
Yeah. The thing is, the nostalgia fests are fine, but unfortunately they are just all the same.
Oh, I don't mind. They don't happen very often. They kind of... even Jenny's trip to France with Martin Platt to go wine picking, grape picking, got mentioned today.
That's what she probably was. It just ends up with them sitting going, "Oh, do you remember so and so?" "Yeah, I do. They're dead." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
Well, what happened to Martin? We ran off and made cheese.
Okay.
In my mind now, just so everybody knows, that's the canon of what happened to Martin Platt. Is he's gone off to make cheese,
Australian cheese. This is fantastic. There's good stuff to come.
I'm excited. I like I said, this rejuvenates some characters that I really like, and it also adds a bit of excitement and anything to do with Rita and her past. I mean, she's going to be Sharon's going to be devastated when she finds out what happened to Dennis.
Dennis? Why is she going to? She didn't even know Dennis.
Because it's Rita's son. She'll be pleased. Rita's husband. Will she be pleased to know that there's somebody else cut out the will?
Yeah, maybe.
Thank you.
Okay,
She's pretending to ingratiate herself with Rita.
Yeah, you're right.
You'd be terrible at it. Oh, Sharon, Dennis is dead. So, I don't know him.
Okay. Well, that was another funny thing when they were reminiscing
Rita's
and they talked. Was they talking about Sally or Gail and Sharon's like, how many wives has she had? And they were like, don't start. Which is kind of a bit tongue in cheek, fourth wall breaking, really, because it used to be that, you know, you look at Gail and it's, oh, look how many husbands that she's had. But I mean, quite a lot of characters are racking up the spouses at this point, aren't they? Steve McDonald is the one that's got the most.
What did you say?
No, it's Sally. She's been married.
You said how many wives has she had?
Wives, husbands. Oh. Yes, so Steve. Yeah, Sally's had quite a few. Gail's had quite a few. Steve has. Peter's just got married for the whatever it is 7th time.
Carla's got married for the 5th time.
Yeah, so it's not quite so special now. You can't poke fun at Gail for all her dead husbands quite in the same way because everyone's the same. Right. Brilliant stuff. And another great story this week was the Seb and Nina. And Jerry, I'll pass it over to you because
right, let me talk about it.
This is so lovely.
So on Monday, Seb has been gothed up to go away for this gig with Nina, because he's quite intimidated by, you know, what to wear and everything. So he just puts on black clothes and then he puts eyeliner on. And you pointed out something funny.
Oh, I just said that the funny bit, Meta's kind of commentary here was that must have been Harry Visioni who did this to himself. So the poor, did he purposely do a poor job, or was that just him?
I think he did a pretty good job. I'd like to say you tried to put eyeliner on.
It was just basically a rings. Like Abby said, he looks like a cross between a panda or a raccoon. But I thought that was funny. I said last week on the podcast I need to see Seb gothed up, and maybe they could have gone a bit further with it. But I did enjoy that, and everything that came from that with Abby on Wednesday was brill.
He says, I don't know what to do. I can't go out like this. Doesn't feel right. And she says, just be yourself. So Seb goes to the cafe and he says, I think I'm...
Yeah, he's taking the makeup off at this point, isn't he? Nina says he's got red eyes.
She's like, have you been crying? He's like, no, I've been doing my makeup. And Nina says, well, it's the same thing for women. And he says, I'll pay you back, but I can't go to this gig. I'll give it a miss. And I'm really sorry. I think I'll just feel out of place. And he says, welcome to my world.
Which is basically, it's her saying, you're not wanting to go out of your comfort zone a little bit for me, whereas I permanently live in the discomfort
outside of the comfort zone. Yeah. Seb tells Abby he's bottles out and he's got this curry that he's going to eat, and Abby just nicks it and says, sorry, it looks like you have to go.
Like scarpers off down the street with going,
Abby's such a funny mum.
I've got a free curry.
She's not like a brilliant supportive mum who's like, I've set you up with your university cash, but she does her best to like be an emotional.
Great this week, Abby.
She's great, yeah. So Seb apologised to Nina. Says, I can't believe my mum stole my food. I'm scared of you because you're so confident and cool, and I don't want to make an idiot of myself in front of all your friends and make you look stupid. And she says, look, if my friends were the kind of people that would make fun of you, they wouldn't be my friends. And this is an important point to remember for what happens later in the week. They agree to stay in a hotel after the gig, and he brings up that he's HIV positive, which sort of comes out of nowhere.
He's more awkward. Nina doesn't appear bothered. She's never fazed by anything as Nina. Like, she's just cool with everything.
Yeah.
Well, almost. Not dressing up as in a bin bag and pretending to be a vampire goth, but
But anyway, it's all on, and he's pretty excited about the prospect. So this was interesting that this HIV thing got brought up. I wonder whether that's going to come up later, because it felt as much of a reminder to the viewers.
I don't know. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt there and just think that's maybe something natural that you might say if you were about to spend the night at a hotel with a lovely lady.
If you are HIV positive, if you're not,
yeah, maybe don't say that.
On Wednesday, seems like he enjoyed himself, and Nina's friends thought
that's how Friday started as well.
Nina's friends thought he was Mr. Sweet and Innocent, and she took some videos of him dancing, and Abby's got them
dancing in inverted commas.
Yeah, kind of shuffling, and Abby's laughing and ribbing him about it and saying, "Oh, be my wedding choreographer" and stuff. I really like the fact that Abby and Nina get on well. Yeah. I just want them to just I know this is not for everyone. I just want them to get married, and I want Abby to be there being a proud mum, and I want Nina to walk down the aisle wearing a great big goth black and red dress, ribbons dripping all down her, with like a big black tiara and a veil like she's going to a funeral. What
I really love about this story actually is that because I like Nina when they brought her into the show. Really liked her dad. What was his name? Richard, I think it was. He was great. But then Nina was kind of in a rut for a long time.
She has been shelved.
All she was doing was making comments to people about their choices of food and saying,
this is
you're destroying the planet by having this
yeah.
plastic cup or whatever. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's kind of funny. But she was a one-trick pony for a lot of last year, and now I'm loving her.
She's so precious
really,
and
really
wonderful. And Molly Gallagher,
yeah.
Oh, I love her. So Abby's still teasing.
She's doing the impressions of the dance, isn't she? She's
yeah.
like, I can't do it by the medium of podcast.
It almost looks exactly like the GIF that I posted of the goth kids from South Park dancing, where they just shuffle from side to side. She calls her a bit smitten kitten and says that Nina is much better for him than that game player Alina.
Doesn't she give him a little wink at that point as well, I think?
I don't remember. She winks at people quite often, does Abby. Later, this was everything about this was just joyful, wasn't it? Nina says,
apart from the bit where Nina has a bit of a cry in today's episode.
Yeah, Nina says to Roy, "Can Seb come round later for coffee?" And he says, yes, of course. I will put I'll put my headphones on, and you can make as much coffee as you like. I love that so much. And then she says, "Could he perhaps have coffee in the morning as well?" I loved it. And Roy's like, "Oh, we might need to buy some more coffee."
Well, he does a pause, doesn't he? He says, we may need to get more coffee. And I think you shouted out coffee before he said it, but David Nielsen's delivery of that was just perfect. And I don't know whether I thought that would be Roy's attitude towards it. Or whether he'd be like, none of that in my house, thank you.
Because he's not really her dad, but he's her relative. But he's also not. He's not kind of ever said. He's not.
Tell you what, he's the cool uncle this week.
Yeah, he's paternal, but not in a kind of protective way. He's more of a guiding kind of spirit kind of person.
Well, yeah, which is very much. What he has been to lots of characters over the years, hasn't he?
Of course.
The scene, all of the scenes between Roy and Nina were very, very precious.
I just want to say, I know that lots of people absolutely love Roy and Carla together, but I really prefer Nina and Roy. I just think it works better for me.
Well, they're both kind of oddball outcasts, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I think that they bond over that.
I think sometimes I just think, I don't know, Carla, why are you relying so much on Roy? It's really nice that you have this bond with him, but I'm not certain why.
I still like the
I'm just explaining myself. Whereas it really feels like Roy just has this kind of biological connection, or like he feels an obligation. And but he also recognises, like, of all the people that he's ever taken under his wing because they're different, Nina is the one who wears it on her sleeve more than anybody else. Carla is kind of, in many ways, a bit of a misfit because of her personality issues and her relationship problems and things. You had Hayley, who was transgender and had that secret kind of identity, like special secret superpower that she had that people found out about and then were mean about, but nobody knew from looking at her because she looked, she's a woman. And then you've got Nina now, but she just wears it completely, she can't hide herself,
Yeah, and she just brought a bit of life to Roy, hasn't? Because his
Roy floundered after Hayley died,
yeah,
and then he got together with Kathy, and we were happy because we felt it worked, but the show didn't go that route, and now he's got another chance.
Yeah, and as a character, he was feeling kind of lonely, and what is my purpose in life and everything, and Nina's the one that's given it to him, and I think that he feels that he's coming out the tunnel a little bit thanks to Nina.
I really love them. I just want to stick them in a mould and pour resin on the top so they're preserved forever. So on Friday, Nina and Seb had an enchanted evening together, and Roy is going to take Nina bat watching because it's her birthday tomorrow, and Seb didn't know it was her birthday and he wants to do something nice with her.
I forgot about that. So, I mean, the way that this episode ends is not so good for Nina and Seb, but I'm assuming that on Monday he's going to take advantage of the fact that it's her birthday.
I'm just hoping it will be fine. I don't want what happened at the end to ruin everything that happened before because I'm just loving it. Nina makes Seb a goth cupcake, with a little bat thing on it, and brings it to him at the builder's yard. And
black icing and all.
He's like, he just moans about the fact that Tyrone's in the flat and he can't move in with his mum because
he doesn't want to be sharing the flat with Tyrone. I don't want to move in with my mum because they've just got rid of Tyrone there, so I'm kind of
awkward.
Potentially got nowhere to live. He wasn't hinting or anything.
But I don't really know why it came up because he's like, thanks for this cupcake. Oh God, I've got nowhere to live. Nina goes to Roy and she's saying about how much she enjoys Seb and how exciting it is, and she asks him, "How will I know when I've met the one?"
She starts talking about how different it feels being with Seb than being with Asher, and this was quite interesting to me as well because I'd noticed now that was something that I was wanted us to kind of comment on, and the differences between these two relationships, because everybody loved Nina and Asher, but it didn't quite feel right. Nina never felt completely comfortable in it, and she was kind of holding back. It's like, whoa, I don't want to go too fast. And now with Nina, with Seb, she's jumping into bed with him, and she comments on this and is like, Does this mean I love him? Give me advice, oh sage Roy.
I think this is another example of a relationship that symbolises more than it gave the Asher and the Nina thing. It felt very much the same as what happened with Rana and Kate, where it symbolised more and it was meaningful to people because of that rather than the characters.
See, I still really think that there is something where that's going to come back, because the Asher and Corey storyline started up again, and she's obviously in this toxic relationship with this nasty scrote Corey, and the fact that that's going on at the same time that Nina's got another relationship, it hasn't felt completely resolved, and the fact that, and I'm thinking they must have brought Corey in to go out with Asher for some reason, because and at what point is the Nina and Seb story going to cross back with the Asher and Corey storyline, which is also making me think maybe they are going to put Nina and Asher back together again, and this relationship with Seb is doomed. I don't know.
I just really want there to be a really epic, unproblematic lesbian relationship story for people that want that to happen. I want that to happen, but it means more to people who are watching it from the perspective of being lesbians themselves, or whatever, however they want to label themselves, or not being the case. I just want that. I just really want that for people, because I know that they've been clamouring for it for a long time.
Yeah.
And it felt like we were almost there because of how wonderful both the characters of Asher and Nina are individually, but together I don't know that they worked, and I'm kind of glad that they didn't.
They tried to make it a bit awkward, and maybe I don't know whether
I
at the
think it was
time I thought
great.
this.
I think it was great because it showed it was okay to try something different, and they weren't judged for it, and they didn't feel bad. They didn't, we had Dev freaking out about it a little bit. I think it was all really beautifully handled, but I also kind of like the fact that it's like, hey, it didn't work out, that's fine. It's okay to experiment and to see what you think.
I don't know. I just got this nagging feeling in the back of my head that it's gonna come back.
I'm not
again.
saying it's completely over between them. I don't know where you're getting that from. I'm just saying that I'm just talking about that as from a perspective of lesbian representation on Coronation Street.
Yeah.
It kind of felt true and honest, but it wasn't quite the sort of epic love story that we're still waiting to happen.
No.
Yeah? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So she basically says, "Oh, Roy, can you give me a speech about love that we can use in a clip show at some point?" And he says, "Yeah, okay. You know how love can often creep up on you quite unexpectedly, like when you're making a sandwich or perhaps a bat-themed cupcake."
He talks about that he doesn't buy into the idea that there is a one for everybody.
He's right.
And
there isn't.
I
could replace you in a day.
So she's like, "Glad you said that, Roy, and everything. So can Seb maybe stay over tonight and maybe a few nights?"
And he's like, I don't think I can say no to you. So meanwhile, at the builder's yard, they're having bants, aren't they? Paul and Ed are teasing Seb about where he's going to take Nina out to dinner later. And Paul makes him wear a bin bag so he can take a photo and make fun of him for being a goth. And Nina, obviously...
Ed's also saying about... or was it Ed or was it Paul? I can't remember saying, she's going to take a bite out of your neck or something.
They're all just going, ha, 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 ha. As far as blokes talking about girlfriends go, I think this is pretty tame. Just ask Donald Trump what locker room talk is. So anyway, she overhears this and thinks that they're sort of mocking her sort of sincerely held beliefs about fashion, and she gets very upset. Understandably, she goes back to the cafe.
I didn't like that. I think that was a little bit too neat. We always moan about characters who happen to be walking past and overhearing things, but this really did. It stood out as being a poorly. She was going over to say that yes, you can come and stay for a bit, but it really did feel like I'm coming over just to hear my beliefs and my culture being slagged off, and then I'm going to go back again. It could have been less clunky.
It's not that those things never happen, it's just that they happen very often. Yes?
Yeah.
So, she goes back to the cafe, and Seb goes to the cafe and finds her very upset, and she has a big old rant to him, and he says, "Oh, it's just banter. It's just builder banter. I'm not that kind of person." And she says, "Well, I was going to invite you to come and stay and everything." And he says, "Well, I'd like that." And she says, "Well, it's too late.
When he was saying it's builder banter, it wasn't just like, "Oh, don't worry about that." He was honestly just trying to say, it wasn't anything. I think he was trying to say it was more the other ones than me, because it wasn't one of those instances where the person who's being mocked or being talked about hears some of it and then doesn't hear the crucial part where
he says, "Oh, but I love her."
Yeah, like with Peter, Carla and Lucas a month or two ago. She heard him say, "No, guys, it's not like that," or something. But
what?
When they were making fun of him, he wasn't joining in.
No, he was kind of like, get it out.
She heard him
not really saying anything,
but even so,
but accepting it to happen.
Yeah.
This is the trouble. This is kind of how some people, and women do it as well about men, how some people bond with one another by making fun of the other sex and saying horrible stereotypical things, or talking about each other's girlfriends and making fun of them. And it is how some people bond. And it would have been very weird if Seb had said, "No, guys, this isn't right," because he knows that they're not really...
They're not really...
They're not being malicious,
malice,
but again, it isn't a nice thing to do, and it is problematic that this is how we sometimes, as humans, bond with one another. Because we are, and I've said this before many times, humans are in-group and out-group orientated, and you can make your group out of anything. But as soon as you've got a group, you form these bonds by making fun of people that aren't in the group. And it would have been a bit awkward for Seb to have not joined in. And the thing is also, Paul and Ed are both accustomed to the concept of being in the out group.
Yeah.
We've seen a very high profile story, the racism story with Ed, where he had to confront the fact that because of his skin colour, people saw him as somebody different to make fun of. Paul is gay, and he would have had people being homophobic to him. So both of those characters sort of joining in making fun of Nina for being different and gothy. It's just a sad reality of how humans are, and even if you've been through that kind of persecution, doesn't make you immune from sort of doing it to other people. How serious is it? How bad is it? Should they have done it? You know, is it harmless? Was it a bit of fun? If Nina had never heard it, would it have made any difference? These are all things that you have to just, in your own mind, decide for yourself. But you're never going to stop people from being like this. No. I just think it's...
it was harmless, but I think...
Well, it's harmless to you because you're not... You don't get judged for how you look.
Shit, I think Nina doesn't, you know, let her guard down for many people, and and she had done for Seb.
And he accepted her, and he was excited by her, and he, he tried to join her group, and then she sees him
mocking that group. Yeah.
It's very deeply hurtful, and I can understand why she felt upset. Equally, I can see why Seb was like, whatever, guys, get it out of your systems.
I'm sure
it's unfortunate, and it's really good conflict to build up because, you know...
Especially when it came at the peak of a week where literally everyone on social media was saying, oh, they're so adorable and sweet together, and I never expected to enjoy their chemistry so much, but they really didn't give off vibes of kind of soppy and sweet and adorable. And
Seb is really good at making him being the sweet one in a relationship, isn't he?
Yeah, I think like Seb, my like and dislike of Seb has kind of up and down in waves over the past few years. Like I was kind of nothing for quite a while when he first came into the show, and he was just Faye's occasional boyfriend, and then he became a main character, and I quite liked him for a bit, enjoying all the feeling stuff, and then he's just been woefully underused and drifting for the past year and a half. I
didn't really like him in the Emma and Alina love triangle.
That was rubbish.
Was a big mistake.
That was rubbish, and I was thinking, it's a shame because I really like Abby, and I don't want her to have a dull hanger-on son. But this week, Seb has just gone whoosh right back up my estimation chart again. Really, really cute, isn't he?
Yeah.
Love struck. Smitten kitten is right, what Abby said.
I think the thing is that people maybe Alina needs to point this out to him, like, and I think he knows, but maybe other people haven't realised on the street, you know. Maybe people think that it's Seb that's making allowances for the fact that Nina's a bit different, but he doesn't care because he loves her. Actually, Nina's making allowances for Seb because he's not exactly how she would want him to be, but she's making allowances and accepts him for who he is.
Yeah.
Because he's not a goth boy, and he doesn't like Lugosi's Revenge or whatever, and listen to the same music as her. She accepts him for that, and, you know, you might think that she's the one, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, he's the one that's making the sacrifice of, but it goes both ways. And I think that people don't really realise it from that way around.
Yeah.
Anyway, at the end of it, we had a really funny scene where Roy is trying to
console
Nina, who is devastated by this insult. And he says, "Oh, I could hug you," and because I think we're in the same bubble. And she's like, "Oh, okay." And he goes, "Oh, what now? Okay, hang on, I've got to get sanitised." And it's like, she's like, "Don't worry about it then."
It was so funny.
It really was. This is the trouble sometimes when there's a really funny scene and we talk about it on the podcast and we just kill the humour by recounting it. But it was precious and fun to watch.
Really, really was. Love it. I would say that by the end of Monday, probably she's going to take him back. He's going to use her birthday to...
He didn't mean it, but I think it's a lesson to him to understand that it's not just a sort of a skin deep thing. It goes much deeper than that. And he could have stuck up for her.
He could. I mean, we've seen Nina as one to stand up for her principles. She's been on these protests, hasn't she, with Evelyn and Toyah?
Yeah.
And so...
Well, she literally said, and I said this at the beginning when I was talking about her story, she literally told him on Monday, if my friends were the sort of people that would make fun of you for how you looked, I wouldn't be friends with them. And then she catches him at the end of the week, making fun, allowing other people to make fun of her. Like I said before, there's a social contract that exists where you have to accept a certain level of people teasing you, but maybe he could just say to them, guys, I have to draw the line at Nina, because you can make fun of me all you like, but don't make fun of my girlfriend.
Yeah.
And the thing is about...
She's had people making fun of her all her life.
Why do we have to be mean to her?
Since she started going through this goth phase.
Yeah. And I think also, like, if you're talking about toxic masculinity and, you know, men who are very rude and disrespectful to women, I don't think Ed and Paul are like top of the list of people that are going to be
harmless. They both
it
are.
was all a bit silly, and I think Nina took offence because she'd probably heard it all before and she didn't expect to hear it from him. It caught her at a vulnerable moment. Maybe she would have laughed it off if it had happened at a different time.
Well, she's had people make vampire jibes at her before, and I'm not just talking about on this podcast, and she's just rebutted it straight away, hasn't she?
It feels a bit different when you catch somebody talking about you when you're not there and they're not being nice about you.
They'll be fine. They'll make it up. And but like I say, I still think that there is the lingering Asher issue. It doesn't feel like that's over to me because she's caught up in this thing with Corey. So Nina's gonna intervene or something. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen, but it feels like it's unresolved. And it's interesting because if Nina does end up with Asher instead of Seb, then I wonder what the fans will think, because this week we did a little poll on Twitter and it was a bit of a landslide for Nina and Seb rather than Nina and Asher. And I thought
who's Nina more suited to, Asher or Seb?
I thought this would be more of an even split because so many people like Nina and Asher together. But I think as great as that was, the sweetness and the soppiness and the smittenness really did come across as being more genuine in this relationship. And I guess it took me seeing this to realise that it really wasn't there as much with the other two, with the two ladies.
It really feels as though we are owed a really nice and compelling, realistic and honest lesbian relationship on Coronation Street. But I don't think Asher and Nina are it, and I think we have to wait for another one. And I don't want the wait to be very long. That's all I'm saying. Coronation Street. Let's not keep putting it off. We still haven't had a lesbian wedding.
Well, yeah, unless you count the fake one of Rana and Kate underneath in the rubble of Underworld.
Well, yeah, I don't want to dismiss it, but I just want. Yeah, I'm just saying it's overdue. It's long overdue, but you can't fit a square peg into a round hole. The Asher and the Nina relationship was not the thing.
It was a bit. She was obsessed with Nina, wasn't she? It
was a cute teenage crush. And I loved it because it depicted something that is, like I said, it's honest. A lot of this thing, it felt very honest and true, and it doesn't always work out, and that's fine.
But one of the things that got my goat a little bit in this story was how Seb didn't seem to know or care that his ex-girlfriend of a few years, Faye, had just been sent down for 3 years throughout all of this. So I think that's as good a segue as any to talk about the Faye put away story, which for me was the main weak point of the week. But it was still great. I was excited by the verdict and everything. But whenever most of this came up on the show, I was switched off a little bit. Not literally, because I wouldn't know when to switch it back on again. How long shall I leave it? Oh, it's finished.
Faye, no, turn it off.
So some people do that, don't they? You see people on the internet saying, "Oh, whenever so and so comes on, I turn the channel over." How do you know when to put it back? There's not an agreed upon length for a Coronation Street scene.
Fibs.
So Monday, Faye is feeling pretty zen about her her court case today, her appearance, her plea and everything, and she's backing up her computer and saying, well, you know, if Tim, Dad, you can sell this if you want to. Oh, I'm probably going to get sent to jail. If I do, yeah, you get a bit of money from my laptop. It's going to be out of date by the time I come out, which will be about a year's time, and her phone as well. And she's pretty much come to terms with that impending imprisonment. So Gary and Johnny are in prison later, and this is the first time we've seen Johnny for ages. Is this the first time we've seen Johnny since he took that Aiden killing pill, maybe?
Yeah.
And he's sprouted a magnificent beard in the meantime, so maybe that was actually anti-baldness pills that he's been drinking and it's been growing out of his chin. I don't know. But
I'll tell you what, if you could sell a pill that would give you that much of a voluminous beard in that amount of time,
you'd be raking it in, wouldn't you?
Anyway, need to do this podcast.
Johnny doesn't have that much to say really, but it's just sort of kind of saying, yeah, bye, you're going in, you're leaving me, so there's even less of a chance that I'm going to be on the show for the foreseeable future. Gary at last could be let off today, and everyone's been saying, why is Gary still in prison when we know that he didn't bop Adam over the head? Well, at last he gets his release today. And that sounds a bit rude. Maria didn't actually let him into her bed. So Craig is umming and erring about whether to tell his bosses about Faye. Remember last week we had what was her name? That woman that came back, Jess, was it? His mate in the
Jess,
in the
police officer.
Yeah, we didn't see her again this week, but he's got to decide: do I tell them that I'm dating a potential jailbird? And he's still not doing it. He's decided he's rather resign from the force. He's got his letter, he's going to go and deliver it later, and Kirk says, but Craig, being a detective was your dream. You love being a detective. You've always wanted to be a collective. You've got those posters of Columbo on your wall. What you doing, man? And he said, look, you can't risk throwing this chance away. Maria, in the meantime, is she knows that Gary's having his appearance in court today, so she's kind of thinking, I'm going to probably be seeing him again soon. He's probably going to be let off. That's going to be a little bit awkward. They're married, aren't they? They're one of these couples that you forget, are they actually married or not? Maria and Gary. They showed everybody their rings.
It was absolutely gorgeous.
So she's thinking that's going to be a bit awkward. Meanwhile, Kirk is running into Faye. And he kind of shocks her a little bit by saying, he's going to go and quit the force because of you, actually, and I've told him not to, but he seems all for it. So Faye goes over to Craig and says, look, what are you doing? Don't quit because of me. And he's like, I'm just considering quitting. But she's like, no, don't. No. Policing is your life. He says that, no, you're my life, Faye. But she says, I can't let you do it. You're dumped. And then she goes off to court. So we see Gary and Faye together standing in that little courtroom that they made for the Jeff and Yasmin trial. Gary has a bit of a go at the judge. Oh no, sorry, I've skipped ahead in my notes. He's got nothing to go. Yeah, there's a bit of a spoiler about what happens. He's sentenced to 8 months in custody as Gary, i.e. he is free to go, basically. Craig...
And he was in trouble because he had that murder weapon.
Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay, I'm not worried about it, but it was weird to me that they were both there at the same time. I don't think this is how court cases go.
Yeah, brother and sister get to hold hands together on the stand.
You're not related though, are you related? Oh, cool, come in. We love family. The families that crime together, it's fine. Stay together.
You're not related by blood, but never mind. So, Faye gets sentenced as well. 3 years. Blimey, that was a little bit more than I think most people had been expecting, and it's kind of a shame that Ray hasn't been found guilty yet, because they were really banking on the fact that if he had been found guilty for all his naughty droppy drawsiness, then the judge might have been able to be more lenient. And the judge says, look, because that case is still ongoing, I've got to be as extreme, I've got to be as harsh to you as I can be, or something like
weird.
that.
Honestly, it was weird. It felt a bit like, we'll just wait then.
Yeah, I know.
He's basically, what can you do? Literally, the judge is going, I don't have all the facts yet, but that never stopped me from making a judgment.
Yeah. Craig shows up to see this because he's overheard a couple of people in the Rovers later. It's Emma saying to Maria, because Maria doesn't know whether to go along to the trial, and Emma says, look, if I loved Gary, I wouldn't think twice, so you clearly don't love him. And Craig hears this and is like, I better go. So anyway, the sentence has been dropped. And Gary has a massive go at the judge. That's where that comes in. Faye's all teary. Tim says, don't worry,
judge says,
I'll sort this out.
In all my career, I've never had somebody stick up for a felon as passionately as you have today, Mr. Windass. Because of what you've said, I will let you go and your sister, and I will also give you £1 million each and a pony.
And you can choose somebody who you don't like, and I'll put them in prison instead.
Oh, wouldn't that be amazing? Oh, who would you pick?
I don't have any enemies. So Faye's brief thinks that this is a bit of an excessive sentence, to be honest. He says we could appeal, but that would mean waiting for a conviction from Ray. That would take a while. Gary says, but what if Ray changes his plea? I've got a plan. I'm going to go back to my naughty ways. Craig, meanwhile, is in the pub drowning his sorrows. He tells Emma that Faye broke up with him. He blames Kirk for this. Then we have Gary going into Debbie's office in the bistro. She turns up, gets a fright of her life by him being there, and he says, right, I need you to phone up Miles, remember that dodgy Scotch solicitor, get him over here. Accountant. Oh yeah, that's right, the accountant, that's right. I can tell already just by talking about this story. Can you tell how the passion
to this and I don't
for
really
this
care
has dropped from the last few stories, which we loved? It's just like, this happened,
and the annoying thing about
this happened, and then this happened.
Is that this feels like it's related to the big Rick Neelan story, which has been ongoing for 2 years now, so, really, isn't it? And this is something I've been looking forward to, and I really like Gary being a villain, and this is Gary saying, right, I'm going to go rough.
Well, this was rubbish, wasn't it? Because Debbie Dobby says, says to Miles, you better come over to the DIY, not the DIY shop, the bistro.
God, hang on, stop.
Gary said, get Miles, I want to have a word with him. Yes, that's what happens. Debbie's like, well, I haven't got really much choice here. Meanwhile, Gary goes to the furniture shop. He has a search around in some of his boxes. Now, we thought that he had a gun in a bag, didn't he? He had some mysteriously shaped item in a brown bag, but it turns out that it's just a load of cash.
What? I can't believe that a soap character is keeping cash in a cash box.
I know. Maria goes to the shop. He hides the package away, and she's like, what are you going to do? You're planning something, Gary. I can see that you're up to something. Whatever it is, don't. Let them appeal, and let justice, prevail.
Just let them do it, and then
do
you
it
can
properly and
crazy.
legally. Don't get yourself in trouble. He's not telling her anything that he's doing. So Miles shows up at the bistro later, and Debbie leaves him with Gary. And this sounded like it could be a little bit exciting. She's like, play nice, and if you can't play nice, be quietly. It really sounds like Gary's going to play quietly.
And don't make a mess.
Yeah, don't make a mess. That's right. It really sounds like he's going to knock 7 bells out of Miles, but he doesn't. He's just like, have some money. And try and get Ray to change his sentence. And Miles is like, no, you can't bribe me. I'm going, actually. Gary kind of tries to jump on top of his bonnet and says, don't you leave. I want you to take my money and tell Ray to change his sentence. And Miles is like, no.
Change his sentence?
Change his plea, sorry.
Okay.
Change his plea. I'm not getting the words right here. And he's like, no, and drives off. So that was really, really, that was a build-up to nothing. That was a massive letdown.
Wednesday?
Monday.
I don't even remember this happening.
I don't know how much of attention you were paying on Monday's episode, to be fair.
But it sounds exciting.
It wasn't. It wasn't exciting. And Maria saw it, him bashing on his bonnet. She follows him into the bistro and is like, what's going on here? And he says that I've got all this cash. I was trying to bribe him, actually. And Maria says, look, it's because of things like that it didn't work out between me and you, because I'm as honest as the day is long, Maria.
It's because of all this bribery and corruption.
Stop it.
That ruined our marriage.
Gary says, if I stop being wrong, or would we have a chance? Maria doesn't say anything here. Don't go back to him, Maria. You'd be a fool. He's dodgy. He's a villain.
Well dodged,
you know it.
Mm-hmm.
He
wrong
would be unfaithful.
Yeah.
But she's not got the best track record with men, so it wouldn't surprise me if she does go back to it. And worst of all, you are a really, 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 really boring couple. I don't think many of the
Lots
viewers
of them are boring, but you're particularly dull.
Have got any love for.
The trouble with this story is it's not necessarily that the actions that are happening on it kind of exciting by themselves, but the kind of the motivation for what's going on is that they want that Gary wants Faye to get out of prison. And the trouble is, I don't care that she's in prison.
No.
And I don't hate Faye. I kind of like her.
I kind of like
don't
Faye.
care that she's in prison.
I was always a
can't
staunch
muster up-
Faye supporter when a
Yeah.
lot of the online community hated her a couple of years
She's
ago.
fine.
I thought she's
Totally-
all right, actually. I liked her during the pregnancy story, but they neglected her for too
I
long,
don't
and now
care
I
about
couldn't care
her
whether
and
she's in prison
Craig.
or not.
I'm not
No.
bothered about Craig jeopardising his future career that he's always wanted to be in the CID, because I
No.
didn't know about it until this week.
And as we said on the podcast last week, he'd make a rubbish detective.
He's really crap. So this is really a bit of a miss, you know.
Yeah.
Even Miles, who's a very intriguing, shady character, and Debbie, who is fun.
I know. I thought, oh, it's
Wasn't
Debbie. We've not
enough-
seen her for a while,
like-
but she
like-
had that one or two little scenes, and that was it.
Yeah, it feels like there's a lot of ingredients going into this, and it's
I thought, to be honest,
Coming
that
out
a few of the
full of
developments on Wednesday's episode were okay.
Go on and
I mean,
tell me.
we had Kirk telling Gary, "Look, can you have a word with Faye about dumping Craig, please?" But then we had Izzy return. You know, I don't like Izzy. We've said many times on the podcast that Izzy's a bit of a dull character, and if we were a producer or swinging our axe, then she might be one of the first to go. But actually, you know, I was pleased to see her.
It was really funny,
It was nice.
considering like how low I rank her in my list of favourite characters. I was surprised myself when I saw her
it's
going,
Izzy.
"Oh,
That's
Izzy's
nice."
back." I like to see Izzy.
Yeah. I mean, we
Absence
saw her.
makes the heart grow fonder.
We saw her via the increasingly used medium of video phoning.
No,
in
this is
Coronation
good.
Street.
Coronation Street should have done this
It,
a while ago. This
yeah.
is how people communicate with their very close friends and family. Even now, even a year after the pandemic has hit us,
Yeah.
we're still very accustomed to communicating with each other like this.
So I
It's
think-
already appropriate to have done this before this started, because the technology's been there for a while, but it just felt very much...
Yeah, Cheryl Lee said that because of the
In-
pandemic, she's not
well-
able to obviously come into work the same. But it was nice to see her face again. It honestly really, really was. She's having a moan at Gary because he's not come round to see Jake yet, his kid. And he's trying to say he's been a little bit busy, but she's not having any of this. And I thought that maybe that would be all we'd see of her. I thought it was a little cameo appearance, but she's back today.
Is he today in this story?
Yeah. Briefly.
I just want to
Yeah.
talk about her. I didn't know.
Okay,
to
we'll
talk
do
about
it
yet.
later then. No.
Okay.
So Gary goes to visit Faye in prison. Well, there's a weird visiting room. It's not the usual visiting room,
Of
is
course
it?
it's not, because she's in the lady prison.
It's in the
for ladies.
But
who play
Yasmin
netball.
was in the lady prison for ladies,
Yeah.
and I didn't recognise the room. That's all I'm saying.
I know, it
she
did look
seems
like-
fine. She settled down like Zen. Craig said she was very zen at the beginning of the week.
I like the fact that it looked almost, because they put her in this separate room, didn't they, so
Yeah.
that she could talk with Gary. And it looked like she was in the room for like dangerous psychopaths. Like they put like Hannibal Lecter. Like they're like, we have to remove her from Gen Pop because she's vicious and she tried to take a girl's eye out with a spoon.
Yeah. Maybe,
Why not?
Maybe that's the persona that she's gone in with, and everyone's terrified.
You've got to go
with her.
in hard.
Right, yeah, you do.
You
Don't
got
go
to-
in soft, otherwise you'd be
No,
everybody's
you
bitch.
got to give her. You got to set your stall out and pretend that you're a hard case.
Yeah, you don't want to end up being a prison wifey or anything
Find the
like
find the biggest girl in the room and take her eye out with a spoon, and you'll be the top bitch.
that. Yeah, I mean, just conquer over the head with an award. She's got a lust for blood after that, hasn't she?
Yeah.
She's tough as Craig. It's fake.
I tell you what, you can't move for people that have won the Weatherfield Gold Heart Award in prison.
So Craig is on the phone to Faye later. He's just about to resign, and she says, "Look, take the promotion, get into CID. When you're released, you'll have met someone else, and it'll be fine for everybody. Win-win. I'll find someone else. We'll have moved on." He's like, "No, I'm not having this. You are my life, my one true love, Faye. I'll do anything for you." And it was kind of sweet. There were bits of this, even Wednesday's episode, which we thought was a good episode, made parts of this feel almost real, but they. Yeah. He says, "Let me come and visit you," and she said, "No, sorry, this is the last time we're going to talk." He says, "I'll be waiting for you with open arms when you come out." They tell each other they love each other, and then the phone call ends, and she's kind of eyes streaming with tears down the phone, and that was the closest I've been to feeling any kind of romantic, loving relationship between them. Up to this stage, they've really just kind of felt like friends, haven't they?
Yeah, I agree with you. And the trouble is about Faye is not only do I'm not bothered about her, I'm also not bothered about her and Craig. But I also don't buy that she's going to be in prison for 3 years.
No, I know. Well,
this is the trouble. It's like, well, how are they going to get her out of this then?
Yeah.
And it's just confused. It's not even intriguing. It's just confusing.
There's a funny little scene at the end where Kirk suggests that Craig sends carrier pigeons with messages to Faye, and Craig has the genius idea of having Kirk deliver messages to Faye that he's written or something like that.
This was so stupid. Craig overestimates his own intelligence by an enormous percentage here. He thinks that he can trick CID into not realising that he still is conducting a relationship with a woman who's in prison. And I assume...
Well, they can't be that smart, that's the idea with the phone, otherwise they wouldn't be hiring Craig, exactly.
I assume that there is a rule against this, and I think we talked about it before about professional standards or whatever. I don't think it's cool that a policeman is conducting a relationship with a prisoner. I mean, I don't care personally, but I just think you've got to draw the line somewhere, really. But to think not only is it okay for him to carry on doing something he's been expressly told he's not allowed to do, but to try to deceive them on top of that, and knowing also that he's in a soap, is obviously going to get caught out.
Yeah, exactly.
And honestly, it's Faye worth it? I don't know. She's just the first woman for years who's looked at him even twice. The last person that he had a relationship with was the artist girl.
I know, whose name I always forget.
Who I've forgotten. He's Paddy McGuinness's daughter.
There looked like it was maybe going somewhere with Bethany, wasn't there, at some point?
He just feels like he's been friend-zoned his whole life, and suddenly a girl likes him, and then she goes in the flower, and he's like, I'm going to write you with lemon juice and hold it to a radiator, and he'll read my secret message. And I know what it's going to say, Craig. It's going to be like, I fancy you.
Friday, there was a little bit of this story. Gary goes to see Sarah in the factory, and I
love this. He goes in and says, have you got a minute, Sarah? And she's like, I literally don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, I've got all day.
He tells her about Izzy struggling with Jake, and can she have some work to do, please? So with Gangster Kirk's brilliant idea, Izzy's working from home, basically.
I like the fact that this hasn't occurred to anybody on Coronation Street, and in the world of Coronation Street, working from home is something that only Kirk could have come up with. It's a long time coming. I'm glad that Corrie addressed it. It's unfortunate they didn't do it before now, but it's really good to get Izzy on the show to represent what disabled people have. Not even it's like the tiniest tip of the iceberg of what they've had to put up with, but it's nice to have even just a hint of representation.
I thought it was actually... Oh, go on.
Yeah.
Just to build onto that, I thought it was quite effective when they had the bit later on in the episode where she's on the video call to Gary again, and he goes and gets Jake, and then
they're playing, aren't they?
Yeah, and Izzy's there, kind of, the phone's been put down, and she's kind of like... She's wincing in pain, and I thought that was really well done, actually.
Yeah.
Just showing that she's having a tough time.
And,
and to have anything make me feel sorry for Izzy, somebody must be doing something right there, to be honest.
And I don't know if they're going to address this, but the isolation and the loneliness that she must have been feeling, that she's been shielding. And honestly, what a heartless bunch of absolute arseholes they are at the factory. I don't think this is Coronation Street's intention, to just abandon her for 12 months on her own, not even talking to her until Kirk had the idea to use a telephone with a video function. And Sarah was talking to her going, we'll set you up with a machine, we'll sanitise it, and Beth will be a partner and she'll talk to you and tell you what's going on. This could have happened months ago. What are you playing at? You don't get awards for doing it now.
Well, the factory's just floundering at the moment, isn't it? It doesn't actually have any knicker stitches there.
I'm really
the core
happy
crew
that they did this.
of factory workers have just gone to nothing. When we saw Sean at a sewing machine a month or so ago, Beth's been off the show for a very long time, and there's just nobody left really that works there to even think about Izzy. It's a mess.
It's
the
nice
factory
that
is
they
a
did
mess
this,
at the moment.
And I'm glad that they did it. But it's sort of insulting how long it took them.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to dwell on it too long because it's, it's all very well complaining about it, but they actually did it, so good for them. Interesting that Beth is going to be her pal. I assume that she would... How are they going to do this? This is the thing. Because I think that Beth hasn't been in the show for a long time.
But she's still around because Kirk talks about her.
So how are we going to do this? Are we going to have two like? Are we going to have split screen video calling? Because that would be really quite odd.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm glad. I just really feel like Coronation Street's been avoiding talking about the pandemic in too much depth, which I think was a smart choice. But now they've got an opportunity to talk about some of the people who have really been neglected and left behind and ignored, and it's very difficult for them because they still can't go out, and people are taking risks and chances and thinking it only affects them, and it's not true. It affects people like Izzy who can't leave the house. People have been stir crazy, and we haven't been under house arrest. We have been free to leave, and I know that at the beginning of the pandemic we were told only once a day and all this stuff. I don't believe for a minute that anybody really genuinely only went out once a day if they wanted to go out more than that.
No.
I've been out once a day. I don't think I ever went out twice a day when we weren't allowed to, but I knew I could if I wanted to, you know? And that makes a big difference to your personal freedom of knowing that you could if you wanted to. Izzy physically couldn't. And she's still there now. And she I
really felt for her.
In pain, isolated, and ignored. And I think it's really sad that
somebody needs to send her a special delivery, if you know what I mean.
You're talking about cannabis, but it sounds like you're talking about a stripper.
Speaking of the pandemic, not related to this story, there was a line in the Jenny and Sharon storyline this week, wasn't there, where Sharon tries to make fun of Jenny for the empty pub, and she's like, I remember when this place used to have a bit of an atmosphere, and Jenny's like, there has been a global pandemic going on.
I love that,
you hadn't noticed.
And everyone's like watching Corey going, I hadn't really.
So what were your reactions to Faye's verdict? Were you expecting her to be sent down?
I don't know, because they were like, oh, it'll be a year. I was thinking it probably will be less than that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny got sentenced to 8 months, and he'll probably be out before then, so she is sentenced to years. Yeah, maybe Ellie Leach just needs 6 months off or something, I don't know. So when they actually came back to 3 years, I thought that was a quite nice twist, actually. But then when I thought about it for a bit longer, like you said earlier, it is more of a case of how long is it going to be before she gets out? Because there's no way that she's going to be in prison for 3 years. I don't think she's going to be in prison for a year and a half. So
I was listening to one of our old episodes, and I can't remember which one it was now, and whether we've uploaded it or not to YouTube. But we were talking about what happens when the bad guy who's done something, and there are consequences for characters who are innocent. Not that Faye is innocent, because she did do what she's accused of doing. But she did it because Ray is evil. We're talking about when a bad person does something and then they get their comeuppance. It's like a magic spell. They're like a wizard that's cast a magic spell on people, and then when they die, the spell kind of releases people, and it's almost like Ray.
So, like when the White Witch dies, then all of the animals that they've turned to stone magically come back to life again.
Or like in Beauty and the Beast, when everyone's like, I'm not a candle, I'm a man. So it's like when Ray says, yeah, I did do it.
Yeah.
Then Faye will just get magically released, which is what Corey does. But in real life, I can't see this isn't how it happens.
She's still nearly killed Adam, and they can't just give her a slap on the wrist and say, "Oh, go on then. You've been inside for a couple of weeks."
Yeah, I mean, you thought it was this guy, and he is an arsehole after all. It doesn't work like that. I'm really baffled as to what is going to happen.
Yeah.
But again, it's only really kind of intellectual curiosity. It's not like I care.
No.
Which is sad, because I should care.
Yeah, there's just the relationships, the plot. Nothing here is particularly grabbing me.
You've written lackluster, and I think that's a very good word.
It is really all the stuff about Craig and his job. I don't care. I thought that when he was going to resign, I thought that could have been an opportunity there for the storyliners or whoever it is to go, you know what, we've put Craig down this route of being a policeman, and he's not doing a very good job of it, really, which I've thought all along. I don't think he's a very effective, commanding, authoritative figure in the slightest that a policeman needs to be. And if he'd quit this and gone off and done something else, maybe. But the fact is, it's useful to have a character in the show who is a policeman, just the same way it's useful to have a character who is a doctor, or a nurse, or a landlord, or whatever, for all of the handy jobs characters in the street happen to have. So
I just had a brilliant idea where he should work. He'd be brilliant working with George and Todd.
Could be.
I think he'd be brilliant there. I don't agree with you about him being a police officer. I actually kind of like it. I think it's quite hilarious. I think it's in the fine...
It's not supposed to be hilarious.
I think it's in the fine tradition of Coronation Street policemen being fairly inadequate at their jobs. I like it. I think it's nice. I like him. I don't have a problem with him being a police officer. But what I do have a problem with being a police officer lying and getting promoted weirdly into something that I don't think he's suited to at all.
So quickly as well. I mean, he's not a proper promotion, and it's just what do they say? It's like an apprentice, something like that. Attached. That's right. Attached to CID. It's just I don't buy it. I do not buy him as a police officer. Sorry.
I do.
Yeah. He's just too nice.
But I just don't. It just feels like it's going to be Faye gets magically released eventually because of Ray, but also Craig gets found out because he's messaging Faye and he shouldn't be. He should be fired. If he gets caught, he should be kicked out of the police because it's bad enough doing something wrong, but also then lying on the top. This is not what we want to cultivate in the police force.
No. I wonder whether we're going to see a prison story for Faye, because sometimes characters get thrown in prison and that's the last we see of them for a little while. Sometimes they go in there and have little mini stories like Johnny did, or like Peter did when he was in there with Jim, or Sally, we saw a lot of her when she was in prison. Yasmin, we didn't see too much of her last year when she was in prison. So I wonder whether Faye's going to have a prison story. I don't think that she's strong enough a character to hold one on her own, so I'm kind of hoping no for that.
It was quite funny that they turned the police set into a court by making it red.
Oh yeah, outside of the police. Where was it? It was the court outside. They painted it. Well, it has. I think it's that colour anyway. But they put a little sign on it to say that this is the Crown Court. And I've got a feeling that there might have been a little bit of CG.
Angle, yeah.
It looked like a funny angle. I think they might have painted something next to it to make it look like it was somewhere else. I'm not sure. But
it really was obviously just the same thing.
For anyone who's visited the set and seen the area outside the police station, it's literally like two large paces out of the police police station was this building. But that's just us, and our visiting the set has ruined it all for us.
Yes.
Troll Hill, Gemma, making a mountain out of a troll hill.
It hasn't ruined it, it's enhanced it.
Okay.
And we want to go back.
Oh, yes, please. Yes, please.
And we're very grateful to everybody who has invited us.
I'm only joking. I love a bit of inside sausage factory.
If you want to go to our Facebook group and join our Facebook group, I've forgotten who it was who went there.
Yeah, somebody is, yeah.
And they said the building's ongoing.
Oh yes, there is building work ongoing. We have a report from somebody who's just been to Media City and been having a look around.
Find out who it is, because I don't like keep saying about people.
You tell us what's been going on in the Troll Hill storyline.
But I hope I'm forgiven, because you guys know I don't remember the names of people that have been in the show for 60 years. So
I don't think our internet's working at the moment. You go on. You can
sort it out.
Okay.
Making a mountain out of a troll hill is the name of the story. I don't know why I don't have children, because I'm excellent at reading out bedtime stories, as you can tell. Monday, Brian tells Kathy that the Golden Heart nomination was actually genuine for services to foster care, but who is it from? And actually, I forgot to mention this previously, but I'm starting to wonder, I don't know why I think this, but is this Sharon?
What?
This trolling? Is this Sharon? I don't know.
No, I don't think Sharon knows enough about Rita. The fact that she came in and called her Rita Sullivan makes it seem to me like she's not necessarily been doing her homework.
But you don't need to know a lot about Rita to troll Kathy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying.
I don't know.
I'm just saying. So anyway, who's it from? And then they work out that it's Sharon. Elaine and Yasmin try to persuade Kathy to go back to Brian, but she's not. She's quite reluctant.
She's just living the Golden Girl life.
I think she's feeling a bit of fizz burnout, and she doesn't want to do Brian's pants. It's like a utopian woman's paradise where they all do their own laundry and nobody else's. Brian goes back to Kathy, and she starts to warm to the idea of returning to
I
her.
found it, Gemma. It was Al who has visited Coronation Street set, well, the outside of the Coronation Street set recently. Yes, he says there's building work going on, which we can only assume is that set extension,
Visitor
media,
centre,
visitors
blah, blah.
shop, blah, blah, blah. That we reported about a year ago, wouldn't it? But things have been happening to slow it down, I assume. How exciting.
Yes, join our Facebook group. It's full of lovely people who are very exciting and post pictures of them.
Anyway, sorry for interrupting. Back to Brian and
Right,
Kathy.
so she's like, oh, I might come back to you, but I've got to be sure that Trolls have backed off before I return home. And he tries to woo her and says, I'll look after you.
I thought this was really sweet. We don't get to see a whole lot of Brian and Kathy love, and we had something a few weeks ago where he said I love you, and it seemed really genuine. And this was a nice bit of relationship building, wasn't it? Where he was like saying, "Oh, I've changed the bed sheets," and he does a little wink and stuff. It was.
I love this. I think it's really sweet. I want more of it. I didn't really know I cared this much about them as a couple, but Brian's winning me over. Just feels baffling that she's just left him. I wouldn't be okay. About the story that's baffling. I wouldn't be okay with you moving out because you were scared. I'd move with you. You know, that's what doesn't make sense. But never mind. It's still sweet to see him. It kind of reminds me of, like, you know, when you get two little birds and the man is like fluffing his feathers up and kind of moving up and down the perch, and the lady's like,
he
whatever.
Was like that. And the thing is, it's only temporary, isn't it? I think it was sweet, but I can see myself being annoyed by them again next week. There's not a consistent.
Yeah, they need to be more consistent with it.
Spark between them.
So he's saying, what are all these packages all over the floor? And she's like, oh, you know, Yasmin and Elaine, what a pair of, I think lazy sluts would be a good...
What?
I think slut used to mean just bad at housework.
They're just... Why are they lazy? They're just buying a load of things.
She's just using
saying,
it.
And
making a mess.
Yes.
So he says, I'm only up the road. I've got the ingredients for your favourite food. I've changed your bed sheets. Wink, wink. I love you. Bye.
Kathy... He blew her a kiss at the end, which is really cute as well. It was really nice. He kind of like pops his head back round the door again. I did like that moment.
Kathy tells Elaine and Yasmin that things are looking up for her and Brian, but is it okay if I stay a bit longer? That's fine, isn't it? They're like,
not really.
Okay. And then they're like, why is all this stuff everywhere? And she goes, oh, that's a good point, actually. Let me show you what I bought. And she opens this package, and inside are matching pink dressing gowns with their names written on the back, and she's like, "Oh, we're like the Golden Girls."
That was funny because that's what a few people, the fans, had been saying about those three together, wasn't it?
That was very clever of Coronation Street to like work out that people would have called them that. That's quite fun. Yeah. And they're like, her.
So I thought that this was all right this week. It was only obviously a very minor part of this week. The Kathy and Brian scene in the middle saved it. That's still the whole idea of the trolling storyline doesn't really make sense to me. What's not making sense at the moment is that how do the trolls know that Kathy has moved out? Because Brian said that they haven't had any trolling, so there's been a week now and they haven't received any, you know, more bricks through the window or death threats or anything like that. So do the people, is it somebody who knows Kathy? But then, if they did,
baffling. It's really
he's
weird.
Still keeping it quiet from everybody that she's there at number 6. So it's not like, well, why aren't they just moved to throwing the bricks through Yaz's window? But yeah, it's really weird. Is somebody tracking her?
I just need to defend myself, because I am right that the word slut originally in Middle English meant a dirty, untidy or slovenly woman.
Oh, okay, well there you
Don't
go.
argue with somebody who's got an English degree about when to use the word
words mean.
slut. I don't get it. I don't understand this. The story is kind of feels like it's freewheeling completely out of control.
It's just outstaying as well.
Baffling.
We've learned her lesson. Be careful what you post on the internet.
It just feels like a springboard to something else, but why they had to use this springboard in particular,
they used it as just kind of springboard to Sharon Return, didn't they? But this aspect of it is still ongoing.
I do like the fact that they're bringing back Kathy's hoarding.
Yeah, that's nice little nod to the past. Because that was
That's
when she was first in the show. She had her old house, didn't she, with the big piles of things that she fell on top of. So I'm guessing
she didn't fall on top of it.
So they fell on top of her, and I'm guessing we may see a bit of that. Maybe we'll have Yasmin trapped under a pile of boxes next time, and it'll give her flashbacks to Jeff with her box. I don't know.
I don't know if Yasmin's going to let it get that out of hand. I don't think I would.
Like the Faye story, I don't particularly care. I just need this to be wrapped up now, really. But it was entertaining enough this week.
I just feel, again, like it's a missed opportunity to really do a proper story about trolling. And I think that they're going to go, oh, yeah, we've done it now. And then they won't talk about it again for a long time. And that's unfortunate. Right,
so we've got the Stand and Delivered story. Just tiny bit. I mean, considering that this was the climax to last week's episode, we had the massive cliffhanger of, oh no, Peter's just got married, now he's face planted on the cobbles, is he okay? And Monday is like, fine. Yeah, he's okay. They're relatively cheery in hospital on Monday morning. He's got hypertension and hypoglycemia or something like that, and he's been put on the transplant list, so win-win really. Apparently, on average, you have to wait 145 days to get a liver, so he's going to be watching that clock. But he doesn't want to keep banging on about it. He says to Carla when they get back home, he just wants to forget it, get back on with their lives, and maybe this story can have a little break for maybe 145 days. I wouldn't complain.
Well, she said it could be any minute.
It could be.
Or it could be never.
Could be longer. I'm sure it will be sooner rather than later.
It won't be 145 days.
Yeah. I very much appreciated the fact that this story didn't take any more time up this week, apart from 4 scenes on Monday. Because that could have properly ruined the week, because the rest of the week was so good that more of this would have just made it drag.
So Carla and Peter are married, and he's on the transplant list.
Yeah. That is it.
And honestly, I think when I look back on this year, I'm going to forget they got married.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't think it's going to be the same as Sarah and Adam, because that relationship just sprang out of nowhere. Same with the Gary and Maria one. At least Carla and Peter, were in a long-term relationship beforehand.
Call me old-fashioned. I want a wedding where the couple get married and they make plans and then they build up to it, and then they have an episode where it's them getting married with mishaps and funny things, and then they get married at the end. And I guess we're going to get that with Kevin and Abby, but honestly, Abby's too good for Kevin, so I can't get too excited about it.
Final story, Gemma.
Koresh Bang Wallop.
Yes, that's right.
On Friday, Corey is being just a really horrible
He's been bonking Asher all night.
He's being just the words I can't say. I'm so cross with him. I don't know if who's worse out of him and Tyrone. Corey, he's just a scumbag. He's being an arse to Ardie.
Corey makes your skin crawl. Tyrone does not make my skin crawl.
So he's like
he just makes me shake my head and wag my finger in disappointment at him.
Spent the night with Asher. He's annoying Ardie and rubbing his nose in it, going, I need to keep my energy up to match your sister's voracious sexual appetite. And then Ardie punches him in the face.
That was brilliant. Really both of us were just like, yeah,
and it was really well performed and filmed.
It was. It didn't look social distance punch or anything. It's not often that me and you kind of cheer or boo or anything like that on the TV, did it? But when he got that
when he punched
on the nose, both of us erupted in cheers. So well done,
and it was satisfying too to see him get his reward, which was a packet of luxury crisps.
Yes, that was so funny.
Because when Dev comes home, Ardie tells him exactly what happened, and Dev's like, "Oh no, I'm gonna have to ground you, but you help yourselves to some."
And I think it was Asher maybe that told Dev what happened, possibly. But either way, Dev is kind of a little
Dev's
bit proud
like, oh
of him.
dear, that's awful. And then to Asher, but to Ardie is like, yeah, I hate him as well. I want to beat him up too. Have the luxury crisps. Asher's mad when she sees that he is tucking into these crisps, and I tell you what,
she's like, he's almost being rewarded for this, and Dev's like,
I really like the way Adam Hussein managed to find the biggest crisps in the bag to sort of wrap his gob around them, and like really
some of the looks that he was giving.
He's really fantastic.
He is really good, and when Asha and Dev were having that confrontation, because Asha realises what's going on and she's having a go at Dev, and Dev's trying to backpedal and it's all a bit awkward, and some of the looks that Ardy gives, like,
he's loving it.
Drama.
Yes,
I'm just gonna sit here and eat my
he's
electric
a joy
crisps.
to watch as well.
Yeah.
Also, this was the birth of the phrase "Diddy Dev" from Corey calling Ardy a Diddy Dev because he's acting like his dad, and Dev saying, "I don't negotiate with Kardashians," which was fantastic. He also threw in another reference to, I think, the Kardashians by talking about a bloke, but I don't know enough about them to know what that meant. But I guess that was also funny. And he also said, I'm not... What did he say? I'm not Sally Metcalf shagging a hat or something. I can't remember. He did it better than I did. Anyway, fantastic.
And the outcome of all this was Asha's saying she's packing her bag and she's moving in with Corey.
That's probably quite an important thing to mention.
Important. So that
she's
what this
move
means.
In with him.
What this means is this is going to be a big story for next week, I hope, which I am thrilled about.
Well, what a
great
great
I love this. It's been a while. It's been a while since we've seen a bit of Asha, and we said at the beginning of the year that this is going to be, you know, a big year for the Alahans, and it hasn't really felt yet like a big year. They're still, you know, dipping their toes in every now and again, then going, oh no, we need to hide away for a month.
I think they're a solid supporting family, and they've been on a much lower rung than that for a long time.
Oh yeah, they have. They're bigger now than they have been for a long time, but it feels like they.
I think they're as big as they've ever been since Anita left.
Yeah, but I still want them more.
Me too. But let me just say, I'd rather be left wanting more than be
true.
stuck going, God,
Not
can we move
again.
on? I don't want to see these.
It feels
people
like
anymore.
the trolling storyline is bigger than this storyline is and has been this year, which doesn't really feel right. It doesn't sit well with me.
But what a great week. Very much fun.
That was the best week in a long time.
It was refreshing to finally get to an episode where we can say that was brilliant, enjoyed that, really well
done. And you know
done.
what? I came home from Wednesday from school in a really foul mood. I've had a stressful week at school. I've got I'm going to be working all day on Saturday as well. It is tough at the moment, and I was rotten mood. But this went to show me the quality of Wednesday's episode in my eyes just shows that even when you're down, Corey can get you out of it. And sometimes, you know, I think, was that episode of Corey that bad, or was it just that I was in a bad mood? But this shows me, no, it can get me out of it. And I was hoping.
So I was right when I hated it.
Yes, exactly. It was bad all those times. But it also proves me right that when I was saying, like, I think it maybe even last week, I was saying, you know, it has its peaks and its troughs, and when it's down, I don't give up on it because I know it's going to go high again. Little did I know that high would be coming so soon. And is it just a fleeting high? Is it going to be back down again next week? I mean, with the fact that there's going to be an Asha storyline at the forefront, and also the Sharon storyline surely got a lot more to go next week. It could be another good week next week. So I'm excited about where it's going to go. Honestly, I think we've got a couple of good weeks of Corey coming up. As for a score, though, I'm not sure. I mean, it didn't have, you know, the massive shocks, the big stunts, the explosive drama, the superbly quotable scripts or anything that might be a 5 week. I don't even know whether it's a 4.5 week, really, because I still think that the Faye and Gary storyline and Craig kind of dragged it down a little bit. But there was so much good. I don't want to rebound from my weeks of 2s and say, well, this is a 6 out of 5. So I think I'm going to settle on a 4 for this week.
I'm definitely giving it a 4.
But 4...
Goth Cupcakes.
You're giving it 4 Goth Cupcakes, are you? I'm going to give it 4 relatively secure hugs with Roy out of 5.
Oh, that would be nice.
Character of the week. This is why when you can tell it's a good week.
Yes,
there's so
definitely.
many people. Is it Fizz? Is it Sharon? Is it Jenny? Is it Seb? Is it Nina? Is it Brian? Is it Asha? Is it Ardy? There's so many people that I could give character of the week for, and I haven't decided yet. I think if Jenny had held her ground and distrusted Sharon for a bit longer, she could have been up there. And I think it's been a long time since I've given Jenny a character of the week. I mean, I don't know whether to go for Sharon just for the newness factor, and I was, you know, always thrilled to have any scene with her in. I wouldn't know who to pick between Seb or Nina, really. It's a
I'm
really
gonna
tough
give it to
one.
Nina.
I was
want to
thinking
give it
Nina.
to
I was
Sharon.
thinking it, Nina.
Because she came in with such a bang, so confidently, and so well done. And it felt like she'd been in it for years.
I don't know whether it was the novelty of her being in. I don't know whether the character did enough to make her character of the week. But Nina with her...
Nina was great all week, and I really enjoyed her interactions with Roy, and I'm pleased that she is getting a good story, and I think she's wonderful, and charming, and so I think I would like to give her the award.
I think I'm going to as well. Honestly, there's so many characters that it could have been this week.
And we had a rare appearance of her without her apron on.
We did, didn't we? So we got to see a lovely purple
because we had discussions on the
underneath.
Facebook group about her and kind of like what her outfits are like and whether they're a bit too costumey.
She always wears the same.
But the trouble
thing.
is that it's her apron that kind of hides a lot of what her outfits are, and they're actually quite interesting and unique. And the trouble is, though, it's difficult for the cameras to pick up the detailing on some of them because they're all so black.
Yeah.
But when she takes her apron off, she wears a bit more interesting things. It's just that they're always hidden under that apron, which is a bit over the top.
I'm gonna give it to Nina. She stuck to her principles. She showed a bit of emotion. She had some lovely scenes with Roy. She was quite sweet with Seb.
I love her.
And I think there will still be ample opportunity, I hope, in the coming weeks for Sharon to potentially earn it.
I'm sure.
Nina is my character of the week.
And it's a 4 out of 5
4 out of 5 week.
Well done, Coronation
Brilliant.
Street.
Lovely. And I think with that, we will end our street talk and head over to the cabin for a bit of news.
Yeah.